There is a moment in the very last episode of Regular Show where a man with a lollipop for a head is floating somewhere in deep space, smiling the way he smiles at sandwiches, and quietly deciding whether the universe gets to keep existing. The show treats this calmly, like it has been telling you who Pops Maellard really is the entire time, and you just were not listening hard enough. Tonight we are going through all of it, every fight, every reveal, every strange quiet character who turns out to be louder than the cosmos, where the bottom of the chart actually starts, who the top of it really is, and all the strange, funny, cosmic layers stacked in between. So get comfortable, turn the lights down, settle in. We will be here a while. And if you have not subscribed to Velvo yet, it genuinely does help us keep making these. The first thing to understand about power in Regular Show is that the show lies to you for about 3 full seasons. It opens like a hangout cartoon. 2 friends in their 20s slacking off at a job at a park, putting off chores, complaining about not having any money, eating sandwiches, getting yelled at by a vending machine in a suit. The early conflicts feel correspondingly small. The stakes are a high score, a kept job, a girl noticing you. If you watched only the pilot, only the first handful of episodes, you would build a mental model of this show that was almost completely wrong about what it secretly is. Underneath, very quietly, it is a power scale story. It is a story about a universe where ordinary park workers are pulled into successively larger cosmic conflicts, and where the people you assume are weakest, the lollipop man humming to himself in a garden, the kindly old yeti pushing a wheelbarrow, the soft, pink, harmless ones, are the ones holding the entire thing together. By the time the credits roll on the finale, the chart you have built in your head has had to be torn up and redrawn several times over. So tonight we are going to redraw it properly. Slowly, from the very bottom of the floor of mortal power, all the way up to the entity that swallows galaxies for fun, and the entity that quietly outranks even that. We are doing it as a tier list, but a tier list told as a story. Because power in this show is never just about who would win in a fight. It is about who is willing to give up what to save who. The strongest character in Regular Show is the one who chooses, at the very end, not to fight at all. We will get there, but to understand that ending, you have to understand the bottom of the chart first. You have to understand what an ordinary person looks like in this universe before you can grasp how absurd the gulf gets at the top. So we start with the floor, the baseline. Regular Show takes place in what looks like a normal contemporary suburb in the United States, with normal traffic, normal coffee shops, normal arcades, normal high schools, normal neighbors getting into normal disputes over normal lawns. The actual humans of this world, the ones with no gimmick and no powers and no secret bloodline, are weak by the standards of almost any action cartoon. They cannot fly, they cannot bench press cars, they cannot punch a hole in the moon. The waitress at the coffee shop is just a waitress. The owner of the local arcade is just a man. The customers Mordecai and Rigby occasionally bother are just people. When a cosmic event blows through the park, these characters are the ones boarding up windows, looking nervously at the sky, or getting evacuated. They are background. The argument the show is making by establishing this baseline so cleanly is that this is not, by default, a high-power universe. It is our universe with park employees in it. And then it is asking what happens when you place, into a world calibrated this low, a yeti who has been alive for a very long time, and a man who is functionally a god in a top hat. That mismatch is the entire joke. It is also the entire show. The reason a high five from a ghost feels like an event in the early episodes, the reason a stranger arriving in town feels like a portent, is that we have been carefully shown what an ordinary citizen of this world looks like, and we know they cannot do any of this. The floor is set low so the ceiling can be set absurdly high. Keep that in mind for the next 2 hours, because the show is going to use that contrast over and over again. The most cosmic characters in the cast are also the most domestic. Skips drives a wheelbarrow. Pops eats sandwiches and watches stories. Mr. Maellard owns a park. The most powerful beings in this universe spend their days doing chores. That is the joke the show is built on, and tonight, we are going to take that joke very seriously. So let us start the chart properly, at the lowest verifiable rung above ordinary humans, which is the supporting cast at the park itself. The people Mordecai and Rigby work alongside. The most obvious place to put your finger first is Benson, the gumball machine in a brown suit who functions as park manager. Benson is mortal. He is, technically, an inanimate object that walks and talks, a gumball machine with arms and a face. But within the rules of this show, that does not give him cosmic standing. He bleeds, he gets hurt, he is at risk in basically every major action set piece, and he relies on the rest of the cast, especially Skips, to come out of a fight alive. His power is managerial, not physical. He yells, he writes people up, he threatens to fire them, and that, in the context of the park, is actually pretty potent, because almost everyone who works for him needs the job. Benson does, however, have one thing the show keeps quietly showing us: real, baseline competence under pressure. When the park is under siege, Benson does not collapse. He does not run away. He arms up, he picks up a weapon, he stands next to Skips and shoots. He has been there during the Klorgbane fights, during the encounters with Garrett Bobby Ferguson, during alien invasions, during the final battle, and he has, every single time, been a useful soldier. He is not strong. He is not magical. He is not blessed. He is not from another planet. He is a small, angry man with no superpowers who keeps showing up for the fight anyway. On the strict power list, that puts him close to the floor in raw stats, and well above the floor in what the show actually values. Because regular show, watched closely enough, has a very specific definition of strength that is not always the same as the one in your head. It rates you on whether you would step toward the thing that could kill you, not whether you could survive doing it. By that measure, Benson rates higher than he should. By any raw fight metric, he is still the bottom of the named cast. That is the tension you have to hold in your head for almost every entry tonight. There is a raw scale, and there is a moral scale, and they are constantly drifting apart. Just above Benson on the chart, you have the rest of the park groundskeeping team, the lower tier of it, and the obvious next stop is Muscle Man. Muscle Man is a small green man with an unusually loud voice and an unusually loud personality, and the show telegraphs from his very first scene that he wants to be perceived as the strongest character in the park. He calls himself muscular. He makes jokes about his strength. He challenges Mordecai and Rigby to feats of physical prowess, and his entire surface character is a comedy bit about a slightly chubby man who insists, very loudly, that he is enormous and powerful. The joke, of course, is that in a universe with a literal Yeti on staff, the green man calling himself the strongest is, on paper, almost cosmically wrong. But here is the thing: Muscle Man, when you watch him across the run, is genuinely not weak. The show keeps quietly stress testing him. He survives being thrown around in fights against alien invaders. He survives Klorgbane. He survives the space arc. He goes into the final battle. He has a brother who is even larger and even louder, and a father figure who is part of an older generation of even louder, even more boisterous men. There is a lineage there, very subtle, of a kind of folk strength. Muscle Man is essentially a working-class hero figure dropped into a cosmic story, and he survives because of grit and because his friends are stronger than him. On a strict tier list, he sits just above Benson, with marginally more raw physicality and considerably more recklessness. But he is still well within mortal range. The interesting thing about Muscle Man is that the show, in its later years, lets him grow up. He gets a girlfriend in Starla, he gets engaged, he gets married, and the loud, insecure version of him slowly turns into a slightly less loud, slightly more grounded version of him. That growth does not give him any new powers in a literal sense, but it does shift him along the moral scale we were just talking about. By the finale, Muscle Man is the kind of soldier you actually want at your side, not because he is the strongest, but because he will be there. Right next to him on every group shot, often physically attached to him, is High Five Ghost, the small white ghost with a single hand permanently extended for a high five. High Five Ghost is interesting because, on paper, he is a literal ghost, which suggests an entire category of supernatural ability that, in most other shows, would put him several rungs higher up the list. But regular show is disciplined about not letting his ghost status translate to power. He can hover, he can phase through some objects, he is incorporeal in certain useful ways, but he is not used as a heavyweight in any fight. He is a friend, a member of the team, present in basically every set piece, but rarely the one delivering the deciding blow. What is more, the show eventually reveals that he has a brother, Low Five Ghost, who is essentially identical except for the position of his hand. They are a lineage of ghosts, that exist within this universe in a very domestic, very ordinary way. A family of polite, supportive spirits who would rather have a nice lunch than throw down with a cosmic threat. By a strict power read, he is comparable to Muscle Man, possibly slightly above on raw mobility and slightly below on raw physical force. The show treats them as a unit, where one goes, the other goes. And by the finale, both of them are firmly part of the fighting roster, but neither of them is the reason the universe gets saved. If you keep climbing the list from there, you have to take a careful look at the romantic leads, which is to say Margaret and Eileen, because the show takes them seriously enough to give them their own arcs, and not so seriously that it ever lets them break the established physics. Margaret, the Red Robin who works at the coffee shop, is presented as a normal mortal. She has no special abilities. Her growth arc is a personal one. She leaves the coffee shop, she goes to journalism school, she works in news, she comes back, she becomes someone with a defined career and her own life. Eileen, the small bespectacled mole, is similar. Her growth arc is academic and emotional. She gets into a college, she finishes a degree, she pursues a career in science. She ends up in a relationship with Rigby that becomes the most stable, mutually supportive pairing in the entire show. Neither of them is a fighter in the strict tier list sense. Neither of them shows up to wrestle Klorgbane or punch a cosmic head into a meteor. But they are not nothing either. They are present in the big finale set piece. They are emotionally central to the survival of the lead characters. And the argument the show makes about them, very quietly, is that the strongest thing in a person is often not their fists. Eileen, in particular, is treated by the show as smarter than Rigby in a way that has tangible plot consequences. She solves problems. She thinks ahead. The show implies, more than once, that the reason Rigby grows up at all is because she is around. On a strict combat list, Margaret and Eileen sit in roughly the same range as Benson. On the show's own internal scale, which weighs influence and resilience as heavily as raw force, they sit comfortably above him. That distinction is going to matter more and more as the chart gets weirder. This brings us to the two characters at the center of basically every episode, Mordecai and Rigby. And the most important thing to say about their power levels is that they are a moving target. Mordecai, a tall blue jay, and Rigby, a small brown raccoon, are introduced as completely ordinary park employees. Their power, in the first season, is essentially nothing. They run away from threats more often than they engage them. They get rescued by skips at the climax of basically every supernatural episode. Their useful contribution to a fight, when they make one, is usually emotional rather than physical. They believe in their friends. They pick the right side. They refuse to give up. And that, in the logic of this show, is treated as a real power that occasionally tips a fight. But on the raw scale, in the early seasons, they are barely above the human floor. What changes them, very slowly, is exposure. They get into fights against Skips' old enemies. They get pulled into the Guardians of Eternal Youth storyline. They spend an entire arc in deep space. They fight alongside Pops in the final battle. Each of these experiences hardens them. By the late seasons, Mordecai can hold his own in a brawl in a way that the first season Mordecai could not have dreamed of. Rigby, who is by raw stats one of the physically weakest named characters in the entire cast, develops a kind of mongrel toughness, a willingness to take hits and keep getting up, that turns into one of the show's running emotional through lines. The show keeps quietly noting that he survives things he should not survive. In one famous late episode, he comes back from a near-death experience and is changed by it. By the time the finale arrives, Mordecai and Rigby are not high-tier fighters by the standards of this universe, but they are veterans. They have been in more cosmic battles than most of the named cast. They are no longer the rookies running away. They are, in the show's own language, finally adults. And in this universe, becoming an adult is itself treated like a kind of power, a kind of arrival. Beyond the core duo on the power chart sits the part of the show that, depending on which season you are watching, can absorb several hours of conversation on its own, which is the romance roster and the way the show uses it to escalate the metaphysical stakes. CJ, the cloud woman who comes into Mordecai's life after Margaret leaves, is a great example. She is, very specifically, a humanoid being made of cloud, and the show is careful with her. Most of the time she presents as a normal young woman with a normal job, going on normal dates, having normal relationship arguments. But when she becomes emotionally upset, she manifests as a thundercloud. She literally becomes a storm. She floats up into the air. She darkens. She fires lightning. The first time this happens to her, it is treated as a relationship plot point. The second time it happens, the show begins to imply that this is not strange at all in her family. Her father is a similar being. Her relatives are similar beings. There is, somewhere off camera, an entire society of cloud people who live alongside the regular human population of this world, and they all carry around weather as a function of mood. On a strict power chart, an angry CJ is one of the more dangerous things in the cast. She has, in episodes, leveled large outdoor areas while emotionally distraught. The trick the show plays with her is that she rarely chooses to use this. She would rather be a person than a weather system. That choice, the restraint, is itself coded as moral strength in the language of this show. CJ sits on a strict combat list, well above the core duo. She sits on the moral list, at roughly Margaret and Eileen's level. The reason she does not climb higher is that she is not, by the end of the show, central to the cosmic conflict that closes it out. She is part of the broader fabric of the universe, but she is not the one carrying the final fight. Mark her down as upper mid-tier, and keep moving. This is the point in the chart where the show suddenly stops being a hangout cartoon and starts being something stranger, because the next character on the list is Skips, and Skips is the moment the whole tier list cracks open. Skips, on the surface, is an elderly Yeti who works at the park as a handyman. He drives a wheelbarrow. He fixes the cart. He is calm, polite, monosyllabic, and frequently the only adult in the room. The visual gag in his name is that he skips everywhere instead of walking, because there is, the show eventually tells us, a very old and very specific reason. The reveal, when it comes, is one of the most quietly devastating origin stories in the entire show. Skips, in his youth, was a perfectly ordinary mortal named Walks. He fell in love with a young woman named Mona. She died saving him during a confrontation with Klorgbane, and the Guardians of Eternal Youth offered him immortality so he could face that threat again every time it returned. After her death, in her honor, he stopped walking and chose to skip everywhere instead. The name itself is grief made physical. He is, in other words, an immortal. He has been alive for a very long time, long enough that the exact number is something the show is intentionally fuzzy about. But the broad strokes are that he is older than any other character in the regular cast, has lived through countless adventures the rest of them will never know about, and has accumulated the kind of expertise that comes with that lifespan. He is fluent in martial arts that have no name in the contemporary world. He has fought entities that no one else has even seen. He has trained, over a very long span, to be the most reliable single fighter in the park. On a pure stat line, Skips is in a tier of his own from the moment he is introduced. He is the closest thing the early seasons have to a heavy hitter. When something cosmic shows up at the park, the camera cuts to him first, because the audience already knows that whatever else is true about the situation, Skips will know what to do about it. He has personal relationships with most of the supernatural antagonists. The show suggests, more often than it states, that he has beaten most of them before. He is, very specifically, the immortal warrior on staff. But Skips is not the strongest character in the show. He is not even close to the strongest character in the show. And that is the most important fact about him on this tier list, because the show, in the late seasons, takes care to show you that Skips knows this. He defers to Pops. He defers to Mr. Maellard. He treats cosmic events with respect and fear, not with the casual swagger of someone who knows he will win. He has been alive long enough to know what is out there. He is a tier of warrior the mortal cast can barely conceive of, and he is still, by the standards of the cosmic top, a mid-card. The reason that placement matters is that it tells you how far up the chart goes. If a literal immortal who has fought for hundreds of years is mid-card, then mid-card is already extraordinary, and the top of the chart must be something else entirely. So Mark Skips down as the upper boundary of what mortals can become, given enough time. And then look at where he sits in the group photo at the end of the show, which is not at the front. He is in the back. He is supporting. He is helping. He is, in the show's own value system, exactly where he wants to be. Once you play Skips, you have to confront the entire category of being he belongs to, which the show, in one of its more inventive narrative moves, treats as a small social club. There is, Scattered across the seasons of regular show, a recurring set of characters who are essentially Skip's peers. Other immortals, other beings who exist on a longer timeline than the rest of the cast. They show up at his birthday parties. They get into ancient grudges with him. They appear in dreams and in flashbacks, and at the park during cosmic events. They live in a kind of loose fraternity of long-lived warriors who, mostly, have decided to live quiet lives. There is, on the wiki and in the show's own internal language, the suggestion that this group includes other yetis, ancient spirits, beings who were once human and are no longer. The show is careful with how it numbers them, and the omission rule applies hard here, so we are not going to count them off. But the existence of the group matters for the tier list, because it tells you something about the world regular show is set in. There are a small number of these beings, scattered across the planet, living mostly under the radar, occasionally pulled into a fight when something cosmic intrudes. They are roughly Skip's tier, give or take. Some of them are a little stronger, some are a little weaker. They keep a kind of cosmic balance by their existence, the way a few load-bearing pillars keep an old building standing. The thing the show does, very cleverly, is fold them into the everyday rhythm of the cast. Skip's immortal friends are not portrayed as remote and inhuman. They get into petty arguments. They are competitive at games. They have crushes. The show is using them to make a point about how strength and length of life do not necessarily make you wiser or kinder or even less petty, but they do make you scarier in a fight. By the time the cosmic threats start showing up in force in the back half of the show, this group becomes one of the implicit defenses of the planet. The world is safer because Skips and his peers exist. That makes them, by elimination, mid to upper mid on a strict power list. Above them is where things get truly strange. To talk about the rung above Skips on a serious tier list, you have to talk about Death, because Death is a character in regular show, and that fact alone tells you most of what you need to know. Death, in this universe, is a tall hooded figure with a deep British accent, who manages, with apparent bureaucratic seriousness, the actual transit of souls from the living world into the afterlife. He owes Skips a debt. The two of them have a history. In the episode where Death first appears, Rigby is killed by accident during an arm wrestling match, and Skips, through his old connection to Death, arranges for Rigby's soul to come back by way of a literal arm wrestling match against Death himself. The implication, sitting in plain sight, is that the very personification of mortality, the entity who is supposed to be the last word on whether you live or die, can be negotiated with by the right immortal, and not even via cosmic trickery, via arm wrestling. Death is not, on a strict combat tier, the strongest character in the show. He is not used as a heavyweight in the final battle. He is not even consistent in his power across episodes, because he is portrayed by the show as much as a comic figure as a metaphysical one. But he sits at a real metaphysical rung that is meaningfully above Skips. He is, by definition, the gateway. He controls a transition that even the most powerful living beings have to respect, eventually. On the chart, that puts him in a category we will call cosmic functionary. He is one of the small set of beings whose job description is at the level of metaphysics. He is not the strongest, but he is structurally important. There are several other characters in the show who occupy similar slots. Father Time, holiday personifications, beings who personify ideas. These are all sketched in lightly, often used for one episode and never seen again, but their existence is doing important work. They tell you that the universe of regular show is loosely run by a class of beings whose job is to embody things. Death does death, Father Time does time. There are, in passing, suggestions that there are similar figures for other ideas. The show is implying, without ever stating it, that the metaphysics of this world is managed at a personal level by a small civil service of personifications, and that almost all of them owe Skips a favor. That last detail is doing a lot of work in the way the show structures its world. Skips, by virtue of how long he has been around, has accrued debts from most of these beings. He is socially close to the management of the universe, and that, on a soft tier list, is its own kind of strength. He does not just have power, he has friends in high places. Now we have to talk about a category of being that does not quite fit the standard combat list at all, but that is important enough to the cosmology of the show that ignoring it would be irresponsible. That is the Guardians of Eternal Youth. The Guardians of Eternal Youth are, in the cleanest summary, a group of beings whose role in the universe is to defend the world against a specific cosmic threat that returns at long intervals, the threat being Klorgbane the Destroyer. By most accounts, Klorgbane is timed to come back once every 157 years. We will get to Klorgbane in a moment. The Guardians themselves, as the show eventually reveals them, are a kind of pantheon. They are super strong, they are super skilled, they are committed to a single task. They are, by the standards of any normal action cartoon, the obvious heroes. And in regular show, they get rolled up, as a group, into a long-running comedy bit. The reason this is important for the tier list is that the existence of the Guardians tells you something about the threat ceiling of the world. Klorgbane is dangerous enough that an entire pantheon was assembled to defeat him. He returns at predictable intervals. He is, structurally, the world's recurring nightmare. Whoever can fight him is, by definition, on the list of beings who can fight a cosmic threat. The Guardians, plural, are mid to high tier when you put them all together. Individually, they are roughly Skip's peers. A few are stronger, a few are weaker. Their job is essentially to keep the planet alive through one specific kind of catastrophe. Regular show pulls a very classic joke with them, which is that, when the time comes for them to fight Klorgbane in the present day, most of them have aged out. They are old, they are slow, they are out of shape. Mordecai and Rigby, who have stumbled, through their usual chaos, into the lineage of one of the Guardians, end up having to fight in their place. The lineage detail is where the tier list starts to bend in interesting ways. The show is implying that Mordecai and Rigby are, in some way, descended from or anointed by a Guardian, and that this gives them, at least for the duration of the fight, access to powers they would not otherwise have. They are temporarily promoted up the chart. They will get demoted again as soon as the fight ends. But for that one moment, they are punching above their weight in a literal cosmological sense. This is the show's preferred way of handling power. It hands the cosmic powers to the small characters, briefly, makes them earn them, and then takes them back. It is a way of telling you that, even in a universe where there are gods, the people who can use the gods' tools are not, by default, gods. They are temporary borrowers. Klorgbane the Destroyer himself sits at the next major step up on the chart, and he is a useful early example of how regular show treats cosmic horror. Klorgbane is a large, demonic, broadly humanoid figure whose entire function in the universe is to destroy stuff. The Guardians of Eternal Youth exist, in the show's cosmology, because Klorgbane exists. He returns, as far as the wiki has pieced together, roughly once every 157 years, with the specific aim of laying waste to whatever he can lay waste to. He is, when he is on screen, treated as a serious physical threat. He shatters the ground. He smashes through architecture. He is significantly larger and significantly stronger than any of the park crew. Even Skips, who treats him with respect rather than fear, would not be able to defeat him alone. The reason Klorgbane gets defeated, when he is defeated, is collective. It takes the entire surviving Guardians plus, in the present day, Mordecai and Rigby borrowing the Guardians' powers, to put him down. He is the show's introduction, in the early to mid-seasons, to the idea that there are entities in this universe, whose power level is several rungs above the entire mortal cast. He is not, however, the top of the cosmic list. He is one of several similar beings the show will trot out in increasing severity over its run. By the time the show is in its late seasons, Klorgbane will start to look like a warm-up exercise. But in his own context, in the run of episodes where he first appears, he is the most powerful villain the show has put on screen, and the heroes barely beat him. Mark him as the first cosmic gatekeeper. Above him are several similar gatekeepers, then a layer of city-tier cosmic entities, and then, far above all of that, the personalities the show has been quietly setting up for the finale. Past Klorgbane in the Rogues Gallery, you have a small group of recurring antagonists who, on a strict tier list, occupy a band the show treats as roughly equivalent. One of the most striking is the figure fans tend to call the Magic Man, a strange, leering, top-hatted character who turns up to bother the park crew across several episodes. He is, by most accounts, voiced by the show's creator, and his entire shtick is unpredictable command of what is, functionally, real magic. He has a habit of making people's bodies do things they should not be able to do. He can warp reality at small scales. He can swap bodies. He can summon and dismiss things at whim. He has, in at least one appearance, gone toe-to-toe with the entire park crew, and only been driven off, never decisively beaten. He is a chaos figure more than a true cosmic threat, but he sits comfortably above the immortal mid-tier on the chart. Alongside him in the same approximate band you have the various wizards the show puts on screen, particularly the so-called Halloween wizard, an old man with what fans have nicknamed pure evil energy, who turns up in the show's annual horror anthologies and is, in his own register, capable of more carnage than the early seasons would suggest. You also have the various reality-bending one-off antagonists that the show drops in for a single episode and never returns to. Among them, in the broader rogues band, sits Susan, an unsettling figure who turns up at the park during a key moment and proceeds to wreck the place in a way that no normal opponent could, although the precise reading of which Susan does what is something fan rankings argue about. The point is that the show, in the moments when it lets these characters be threatening, gives them damage that puts them close to Klorgbane on a raw scale. They sit, on this list, in the upper rogues band. Above the rogues band, the show has a separate category, which is the long-form cosmic threats. The kinds of villains who do not just attack the park, but who threaten to delete entire chunks of the universe. Garrett Bobby Ferguson, the giant disembodied head from outer space, is the perfect example of the next tier up, because his entire role in the show is to escalate the audience's sense of how big this universe really is. He appears in an episode that, on paper, is about an arcade game high score, the kind of pointlessly local stake the show specialized in during its early seasons. Mordecai and Rigby want a record. The record belongs to a player who calls themselves the universe record holder for this particular cabinet, and when they beat the record, the player turns out to be a literal floating cosmic head who can fly down to Earth on a moment's notice and kill them. The reveal is one of the cleanest tonal shifts in any cartoon of its era. One moment it is an episode about a high score. The next moment, it is an episode about a being from space whose body, somehow, is just the head, and whose ego is universe-sized. Garrett Bobby Ferguson, often just called GBF, is in the show's mid-tier rogues band, comparable to Klorgbane in physical threat, comparable to the Magic Man figure in metaphysical strangeness. He is defeated, in his first encounter, by sheer storytelling, by Mordecai and Rigby telling him a story about a friendship that he, the antagonist, has never had, until he gets so emotional that he explodes. The mechanism of his defeat is silly, and the show plays it for laughs, but it is also a thesis statement for how regular show treats power. The cosmic head is not defeated by punches. He is defeated because he is alone, because he has no friends, because the absence of a real human bond is treated, in this show, as a structural weakness. Later, his son turns up, and the son is significantly more aggressive, significantly more cunning, significantly more dangerous in a straight fight. He has to be put down by force, and the show makes a real meal of it. He is part of the running theme that, in the absence of a community, the most powerful beings become brittle. The Ferguson lineage, by the time the show is finished with it, accumulates a strange kind of body count. The original returns from the dead. The son grows up wanting revenge. The whole arc spans seasons. By the end of it, the Fergusons are firmly in the upper rogues band on the power chart, well above skips on raw stats, well below the genuine cosmic top tier, capable of damaging or destroying significant portions of the world on their own, and only kept in check by the combined effort of the entire main cast. If you sit with the rogues band for a moment longer, you also have to mention the Destroyer of Worlds, because the name alone announces a tier, and the show does its best to deliver on the name. The Destroyer of Worlds, as far as the wiki has pieced it together, is in fact a video game character, a pixelated floating devil head that escapes its arcade cabinet through the carelessness of the main characters and crosses into reality. The aesthetic of it, once it manifests, is straight out of pulp horror, a giant being, a countdown to a planetary catastrophe. The show plays it relatively straight. The Destroyer, when freed, is a real threat. The park crew, on their own, cannot defeat it. They need outside help. The fight is large, it is destructive, and the show makes a real point of showing you what a being at this tier looks like when it is allowed to be on screen. On a tier list, the Destroyer of Worlds sits in the upper rogues band, comparable to or slightly above the Fergusons on raw devastation, considerably above Klorgbane on raw size if not raw strategy, but below the truly cosmic threats that close out the show. The trick is that, Like all of these mid-tier cosmic threats, the Destroyer is treated as a problem the main cast can handle if they pull together. The really interesting tier line on this chart is the gap between this band and the next one, because once you cross into the next band, the main cast cannot handle the threat. They can only survive it. The show is very careful about which threats belong in which category, and it uses that line to make its biggest emotional points. The Destroyer of Worlds on this chart is just below the line. Above the Destroyer of Worlds, you reach what we will call the management class, because the show, brilliantly, presents some of the most powerful beings in its universe, not as visible cosmic monsters, but as polite, slightly fussy, slightly bureaucratic figures in offices. The clearest example is Mr. Maellard, the elderly white-haired man who owns the park and acts, on the surface, as Benson's even more demanding boss. Mr. Maellard, in early seasons, is treated as comic relief. He is the rich old owner. He shows up to complain about expenses, to demand impossible things, to scare Benson into compliance, and then he leaves. There is no early indication that he is anything more than a wealthy human. The show withholds, for many seasons, the single piece of information that recontextualizes him entirely, which is that Mr. Maellard is, in fact, Pops's father. Earl Maellard is the father of Pops Maellard. And once you know that, and once you sit with the implications of that, the entire shape of his role in the show shifts, because Pops, as we are eventually going to talk about in detail, is not human. He is not from this planet. He is a being from a distant cosmic context who landed on Earth as a child for very specific narrative reasons. And his father, by extension, is in some sense the patriarch of that lineage. The show does not draw a thick line under this. It lets you piece it together. It implies, in the late seasons, that Mr. Maellard's role on Earth has always been to look after Pops, to keep him safe, to train him, to wait for the moment when his son will be needed. The wealth, the park, the entire infrastructure of the early seasons is, read with hindsight, a kind of guardianship. Mr. Maellard is not just a rich old man. He is a parent. He is one half of a small cosmic family that has been guarding the heir to a long battle for, the show implies, his entire life. On a raw combat tier list, Mr. Maellard does not personally throw punches. He is old, he is frail, he is a human or human-shaped being. But the resources he commands and the cosmic family he belongs to place him in a tier that is far above the rogues band. Mark him, very carefully, just below the cosmic main event. He is, in some sense, the show's quiet acknowledgement that, behind every cosmic protagonist, there are parents who have been working a long shift to keep that protagonist alive long enough to fight. Before we get to Pops himself, you have to walk through one more crucial layer of the chart, which is the entire frame of the space arc, and what it tells you about the broader universe. Regular show, in its late seasons, takes the entire main cast off Earth and into deep space, where they get stranded for what is, in show, a long time. They are crewed up on a converted spaceship. They get involved in an intergalactic war. They run into entire civilizations of beings the show has not previously hinted at. They are recruited into a kind of mercenary outfit. They fly missions. They make alliances. They are, very specifically, told that there is a war going on that has nothing to do with them, that they have stumbled into, and that they are now expected to fight in. The thing the space arc does for the tier list is establish that there is, scattered across the galaxy, a tier of being that operates on a completely different scale from anything we have seen on Earth. Whole planets are at stake. Whole fleets of ships, with named generals, are committed to long-term campaigns. The villains of the space arc are not, on a strict power scale, individually as strong as the very top cosmic tier of the show, but they have armies and they have resources, and they have time. They sit at a comparable place on the chart to the Fergusons or the Destroyer of Worlds, with the addition of being plural. There is not one threat, there is a faction. The implication is that the threat ceiling of the universe regular show is set in is much higher than the early seasons let on. The Earth was relatively quiet because the cosmic threats had not yet noticed it. Once the cast leaves Earth, the chart explodes. The thing the space arc gives you, on this list, is a sense of scale. By the time the cast comes home, they have been to enough places, fought enough enemies, made enough friends in high places, that they are, themselves, in a different tier than they started. Mordecai and Rigby in particular have been hardened by the arc. They are no longer the boys playing video games at the start of the show. They have killed things. They have been near death. They have made hard choices. They have seen, in their own way, what is out there. The show uses that change, very deliberately, to make the finale land as hard as it does. The cast has earned their place in the final fight, by training, by trauma, by service. In and around the space arc, there is a recurring character who deserves his own seat on the tier list. And that is Thomas, the small gray goat who appears in the middle seasons as an intern at the park. Thomas is interesting because, on his face, he is just a young man trying to do an internship. He is shy. He is awkward. He is bullied by Muscle Man, included by Mordecai and Rigby, treated by Benson like an extra pair of hands. The show plays him as the kind of background character who is loved but easy to overlook. The reveal, in a special middle seasons episode, is that Thomas is not a goat intern at all. Thomas is a deep-cover Russian operative whose real name is Nikolai, who has been embedded in the park as part of a long-term intelligence operation. The reveal is played mostly for comedy, but it tells you something important about the kind of universe regular show is set in. There is, in this world, an entire intelligence community that has decided this small park is worth surveilling. There is a foreign agency that finds it useful to keep an asset embedded in this particular team. Why? The show implies, but never quite says, that the cosmic events that orbit the park have not gone unnoticed, that the various national governments of this world have a vague sense that the park is somehow at the center of strange things, and that an embed is therefore worth the cost. On a strict combat tier, Thomas is roughly Skip's level when he is acting at full capacity. He is a trained agent. He has access to resources. He can disappear and reappear. He has the ability to extract himself from situations that would kill a normal mortal. But the more interesting placement is that Thomas tells you the world regular show is set in is a world where powerful institutions have started to take an interest in the park. The cosmic tier is no longer secret. It is a known unknown, and there are people in suits watching it from a distance. We should also touch, briefly, on a category of antagonists the show flirts with in its late seasons, which is the institutional cosmic power that occasionally pushes back at Pops' broader family. As far as fans have pieced together, there are recurring aristocratic figures positioned as enemies of Pops in particular, in a way that suggests their real beef is not with the park crew at all, but with the cosmic lineage Pops belongs to. These figures, when they appear, have staff, they have architecture, they have institutions behind them that legitimize their role. On a strict combat tier, none of them are individually unique in raw power. What they are, however, is positioned. They occupy a place in the cosmic society Pops comes from. They have standing. They represent a category of being that has institutional grip on parts of the universe that ordinary mortals will never see. Mark them as upper mid-cosmic, below the main event, but well above the rogues band. The reason they matter for the tier list is that they tell you Pops' world is not a single cosmic family living quietly on Earth. Pops' world is a structured cosmic society, with its own ranks, its own enemies, its own ancient grudges. These institutional antagonists are visible tips of that society leaking through into the show. Once you know they are there, you start to see other pieces. The hints, scattered through the late seasons, that Pops' lineage is being watched, evaluated, and prepared. The bureaucracy of cosmic power is real in regular show, and these antagonists are the tip of it. The show could have done a lot more with them. It chose, instead, to make their presence a slow drumbeat in the background, reminding the audience that the universe is bigger than the park. Now we come to the part of the tier list that asks the show to reveal what it has been hiding the entire time, which is the truth about Pops Maellard. Pops, on the surface, is the gentlest character in the cast. He is a small, round man, with a lollipop for a head, who lives at the park, who is older than most of the cast, who has the manners of a Victorian gentleman, who delights in absolutely everything around him, who calls the gardener kind sir, who has a high, reedy voice, and an inexhaustible enthusiasm for ordinary things. For most of the show's run, he is the comic relief. He is the gentle weirdo of the household. He gets the sweet B-plot. He gets the affectionate punchline. He is, for several seasons, the only character in the show whose entire purpose is to remind you that there is goodness in the world. The show is, very deliberately, lying to you for years about who Pops actually is. Not in the sense that the early Pops episodes are dishonest, because they are not. but in the sense that they leave out an enormous, structurally important fact about his identity, and they let you assume, as a viewer, that you have understood him. You have not. The reveal, when it comes, is one of the most ambitious narrative choices in the show. Pops Maellard is, the show eventually tells you, not from this planet. He was born on a distant world, raised on Earth for his own protection, with a true name that is not Pops, and a destiny that has been waiting for him since before he was born. He has a twin. The twin is, by birth, his exact opposite. The twin is his negative. Where Pops embodies kindness, joy, gentleness, and the will to give, the twin embodies cruelty, dominance, contempt, and the will to take. The two of them are, in the show's cosmology, two sides of a single ancient cosmic dichotomy, and they exist, by most accounts, as part of a long cycle. The duel between them is what the universe is set up around, and it is implied that it has happened before, in some form, more than once. Pops and his twin are the current iteration of this dichotomy. Pops has been on Earth, growing up in a quiet park with a quiet father, waiting, sometimes without fully knowing it, for the moment when his other half will arrive and demand the confrontation. On a power chart, this revelation moves Pops from the middle of the chart to the absolute top. He is not, in physical terms, a brawler. He has not spent his life training. He is not, in the early seasons, presented as someone who could throw a punch with any meaningful force. The implication, however, is that all of this is irrelevant. The cosmic dichotomy that he embodies is the thing that ranks him. He is the embodied side of joy in a universe that has decided to give that side a body and let it fight. The body is small and round and pink. The body sucks on lollipops and runs around in a top hat. The body, when the moment comes, can fight on equal footing with the embodiment of cosmic cruelty. That is what Pops actually is, and the show, once it has shown you, is patient enough to leave the implications to sit there for a while. There are episodes in the late seasons where you watch Pops do something gentle, something small, something kind, and you feel the weight of it differently, because you know that this little man, humming to himself, is the universe's argument for itself. He is the case for kindness made flesh, and eventually he is going to be asked to make that case in a fight. The twin of Pops, who is generally called Anti-Pops, or referred to in the show's own language as the equivalent dark side, sits at the same tier as Pops, by definition, because they are the opposing halves of a single dichotomy. He arrives in the late seasons with the energy of a final boss. He has the cosmic backing. He has the implied long memory of previous rounds of this fight. And he has, as you would expect from a being defined by cruelty, a complete contempt for any of the people Pops cares about. He looks like Pops. He sounds like Pops, but warped. He is essentially the mirror image. Where Pops carries an undimmable optimism, the twin carries an undimmable conviction that the universe deserves to suffer. The fight between them, when it finally happens, is not a quick exchange. It is drawn out over an entire arc, and it is staged as the biggest set piece the show has ever attempted. Stars are at risk. Planets are at risk. The action of the fight involves the destruction and rearrangement of entire pieces of the universe. The two of them are, by the rules of the show, evenly matched on every measurable axis. Their physical strength is identical. Their resilience is identical. Their cosmic backing is identical. The fight, the show is telling you, cannot be decided by any of the things that fights are normally decided by. It can only be decided by the values the two of them embody, by the willingness of one or the other to give something up. And that, in the end, is exactly how it gets resolved. Pops, the embodiment of kindness, wins by being kinder. He wins by being willing to do what his twin cannot, which is to choose to die. He wins by sacrificing himself. The argument the show is making, at the top of its own tier list, is that the strongest move in the universe is not a punch, it is a decision. The strongest character in regular show is the one who, when the moment comes, decides to give everything up for the people he loves. The decision, when it comes, is staged with extraordinary care. The show takes its time. It lets you feel the weight of it. It does not rush. There is a moment, in deep space, where Pops is floating, where the universe is quiet, where the twin has been brought to the edge of his own end, and where Pops, with full understanding of what he is about to do, smiles his familiar smile and pulls his twin into the kind of embrace that ends them both. The visual is held for a long time. It is the final cosmic act of the show, and it puts Pops on this chart at the very top. But the show is not finished after that, because there is one more entity to discuss, and it is the most ambiguous and the most cosmologically suggestive being in the entire run, which is whatever the universe of regular show actually is, considered as a single thing. The fight between Pops and the twin is structured by the cosmology of the show as a recurring pattern, which means that there is, somewhere behind it, a cosmology that produces these dichotomies. Some mechanism, some context, some larger pattern. The show does not name this. It does not visualize it. It implies it. It implies that there are forces older than Pops, older than the twin, older than the cycle, that have set up the conditions under which the cycle exists. This is the show's gesture at a tier above its named cast, the cosmic infrastructure layer, the layer in which the dichotomies live. There are no named characters at this layer. There are no fights staged at this layer. But the implication is there, in the way the cycle is described, in the way the older cosmic characters refer to Pops, in the way the twin acts as if his fight is an old one he has fought, in some sense, before. The argument the show is making with this gesture is that the universe in which regular show takes place is a structured, layered, ancient thing, and that the visible cast, even at the cosmic top, is operating inside a system that is bigger than them. On a strict tier list, that is the closing rung. Above Pops, there is the system that produces Pops. We cannot rank the system, we can only acknowledge it. That, the show is saying, is the proper attitude to take when looking up at the actual ceiling of your universe. You acknowledge that it is there and you do not pretend to understand it. Coming back down from that, you have to talk about the way the show handles the cleanup of the final fight, because the tier list does not end with Pops' sacrifice. It ends with what happens in the years afterwards. The finale of regular show jumps forward in time, by years, several times. It shows you Mordecai and Rigby getting older. It shows you the rest of the cast moving on. It shows you marriages, children, careers, deaths, all rendered with the kind of patience that the show had earned by then. The argument it is making with this extended epilogue is that, after the cosmic stakes have been resolved, what is left is the ordinary lives that the cosmic stakes were defending. The most cosmic moment in the series is followed by the most domestic one. Power, the show is telling you, is not a leaderboard. Power is the capacity to protect ordinary life. Once ordinary life is safe, the leaderboard does not matter. Skips puts down his weapons. Benson runs the park. The romance plots resolve. The friends grow up and apart. Mordecai goes off to find his own life. Rigby finds his. The two of them, eventually, become old men, in the way the show suggests at the very end. The cast scatters. The park persists. The tier list dissolves. The show closes on a wide shot of the park itself. Quiet, with the implication that the universe is, for now, in balance. Pops is gone. The twin is gone. The duel has been broken or paused, and what happens next is, by the show's own admission, beyond what it is willing to claim. It tells you that, for now, the people who are alive get to live. That is the strongest argument the show makes. The reason this argument lands is that the show has spent 8 seasons earning the right to make it. It has shown you the bottom of the chart, and it has shown you the top of the chart, and it has shown you that the top of the chart, in the moment that matters, chose to be at the bottom of the chart. The lollipop man, smiling at sandwiches, was the most powerful being on Earth, and what he did with that power, in the end, was give it up so the rest of them could keep their ordinary lives. Now, having walked through the chart from bottom to top once, the show deserves a second pass, because the tier list is not a one-dimensional ladder. There are several distinct kinds of power in regular show, and the same character will sit on completely different rungs depending on which kind you are measuring. So let us go back through it slowly, this time looking at the specific dimensions of power the show actually uses. The first dimension is raw physical capability, the kind of fighting prowess that translates into a brawl. The second is supernatural or cosmic authority, the kind that lets you bend reality. The third is institutional power, the kind that comes with money, allies, or family. The fourth is the moral dimension we have been talking about throughout, the kind that determines who, in this universe, is allowed to win. Each character occupies a different position on each of these dimensions. Skips, on the raw physical scale, is at or near the top of mortal capability. He has been training for a long time. He can fight at a level no normal person can reach. On the supernatural scale, he is mid-tier, in the sense that he carries some long extended life and some accumulated knowledge, but he is not a god and he does not bend reality. On the institutional scale, he is essentially unranked. He works at a park. He has no money, no army, no political standing. On the moral scale, he is high, because he is patient, principled, and willing to give up his own comfort for others. That four-part profile is roughly what every other character on this chart has, and the show implicitly invites you to do the same comparison for everyone. If you do that with Pops, you discover something interesting. On the raw physical scale, the early Pops is borderline. He is small, he is uncoordinated, he is not, by any usual sense of the word, a fighter. But the cosmic Pops, when the dichotomy reveals itself, is on a tier that is qualitatively different from anyone else. He is not slightly stronger than Skips. He is in a category Skips cannot meaningfully fight in. On the supernatural scale, he is at the top. He is one half of a dichotomy that exists at the bedrock of the universe. On the institutional scale, he is high, because his father is rich and his cosmic family is positioned, but he has barely used any of that. On the moral scale, he is the high watermark of the show. There is no character whose moral resolve is shown to be greater. The thing the show is doing, by giving Pops a profile like that, is making the most cosmic character in the cast also the kindest. The case being made is that the universe rewards moral resolve at the cosmic level, that the entities at the top of the chart are at the top because of who they are, not because of what they can do. It is a thesis the show keeps pushing throughout. Power, in this universe, is not random. If you do the same analysis with the twin of Pops, you get the mirror image. He is, by the rules of the dichotomy, identical to Pops on the raw and supernatural and institutional scales. On the moral scale, he is the negative. The show is, with very characteristic restraint, making the point that the cosmic dichotomy is decided not by force, but by character. The twin loses, in the end, not because Pops outpunches him, but because Pops has the resolve to do something the twin cannot do. That is the entire crux of the finale, and of the tier list. The strongest beings in the universe are tied on every measurable dimension, and the decisive one is the moral one. Power, the show says, ultimately reduces to the question of what you are willing to give up. The character who is willing to give up the most wins. That is true at the cosmic top. That is true at every smaller scale beneath it. Benson, at the bottom of the chart, is held in the chart not because he can punch anyone, but because he is willing to stand next to Skips and fight. Mordecai and Rigby are upgraded by the show because they are willing to keep showing up. Skips remains where he is on the chart because he has not let his immortality turn him into a passive observer. The tier list, when you read it through this lens, is a moral document as much as it is a power document. Now we should look properly at the specific fights, because the abstract argument we have just been making is built out of specific scenes, and you cannot really make the case for Pops as the top of the chart unless you walk through what he actually does when the moment comes. The first thing to acknowledge is that the cosmic Pops, when his dichotomy manifests, is capable of feats the show never tries to put in the regular Pops. He can fly, unaided, through deep space. He can survive in environments that would kill any of the mortal cast instantly. He can take hits from cosmic energy weapons and keep standing. He can punch with force that visibly bends matter. He can absorb damage that would shatter mountains. None of this is hidden. The show is unembarrassed about it. The case being made, by letting cosmic Pops do these things on screen, is that the gentle Pops you have been watching for years had all of this latent in him the entire time. The shift from harmless old man to cosmic warrior is not a transformation in the strict sense. It is, the show implies, a stepping into the truth of what he has always been. The same is true of his twin. Both of them, in the finale, are doing things at a scale the rest of the cast cannot conceive of. The fight between them is staged in deep space, because no terrestrial setting could contain it. The duration of the fight is extended into something close to a full episode in real time, because there is no quick way to resolve it. Within the same fight, the rest of the cast is doing what they can. Mordecai and Rigby are aboard a ship, fighting smaller combatants, holding their own. Skips is in the field, dealing with second-tier threats, holding the line. Benson is, true to character, somewhere in the middle of the action, firing a weapon at things that should kill him. Muscle Man and High Five Ghost are present, contributing, surviving. The structure of the finale battle, when you look at it as a tier list, is exactly right. The mortal cast is fighting at their tier. The mid-cosmic characters are fighting at their tier. The cosmic main event is fighting at its tier. Everyone is doing their part of the war. The show takes a great deal of care to give every character a meaningful action in the final battle, because the finale is, on top of everything else, a thesis statement. Every character matters. Every tier matters. The cosmic top of the chart wins the cosmic battle, but the planet is held by the people lower down, and without the lower tiers doing their job, the cosmic top would not have the time and space to do its job. The show is, in other words, making the case for an ecology of power. No tier wins on its own. The chart only works because every rung is occupied. While we are looking at specific fights, we should talk about the way the show treats Skips' historical battles, because they form an important part of the tier list. The show, in flashbacks, shows you Skips in his youth taking on cosmic threats that the mortal cast in the present day could not survive. He fought, in some flashbacks, beings of a tier comparable to Klorgbane. He held his own. He won. The young Walks, before he became Skips, was a top-tier mortal warrior, and the lifetimes of additional training and experience since then have only made him more formidable. The show implies that there are cosmic threats out there that Skips alone could put down, given enough time and enough preparation. That is a credible claim. The thing the show also implies is that Skips, after his many years, has learned to choose his battles. He does not pick fights anymore. He does not look for trouble. He waits at the park, doing his chores, until trouble comes to him. That choice, that restraint, is itself coded as wisdom by the show. The argument is that the truly powerful, in this universe, do not need to prove anything. They simply exist, and they show up when they are needed. Skips is the model of that. Pops is the cosmic version of it. The mid-tier characters are the mortal version of it. Even Benson, in his own grumpy way, has elements of it. He yells at his employees not because he loves yelling, but because the park needs to keep running. And the park, in the show's cosmology, is important. The park is, after all, where Pops grew up. The park is where the cosmic family has chosen to hide their heir. The park, when you look at it through the right lens, is the most strategically important location on Earth. That is the joke, and that is the point. The most important location in the universe of regular show is a small public park run by a gumball machine. Read that way. Every character who works at the park is, in some sense, a guardian of cosmic importance, whether they know it or not. If we sit with the question of who exactly knows what, the tier list gets more interesting still. Benson does not know. Muscle Man does not know. High Five Ghost does not know. Mordecai and Rigby do not know for most of the show's run. They have, at various points, glimpsed strange things, but they have not, until very late, been told the truth about Pops. Skips knows. Mr. Maellard knows. The cosmic figures in Pops' broader family know. The twin knows. The information is asymmetric, and the show plays with that asymmetry constantly. The cosmic figures treat Pops with a kind of reverence that the mortal cast cannot interpret. Skips defers to Pops in small ways throughout the series. Mr. Maellard, even in his grumpiest moments, is gentle with Pops in a way that you only register on a rewatch. The show is showing you, in plain sight, that the cosmic top of the chart is being protected by the cosmic mid of the chart, and that the cosmic mid is doing this without telling the mortal cast what is going on. The mortal cast is, in a sense, working at the park without any idea that the park is a fortress. The show is using this dynamic for comic timing and for tension, but it is also, very quietly, building a worldview. The case being made is that the universe is full of cosmic structure that the ordinary person never sees, and that the ordinary person is, very often, going about their day right next to a cosmic event without noticing. That is, the show suggests, how the universe normally works. We are all of us, going about our days next to cosmic things we do not see. Let us now go deeper on a few specific characters whose power levels deserve a more careful look, because the tier list as it stands so far is a useful map, but it is missing detail. We will start with Skips, because he is the most thoroughly explored mid-tier character in the cast, and the show, across its run, gives us repeated chances to revise our understanding of what he can actually do. Skips' canonical power set is built out of several pieces. There is the immortality itself, which is, in the show's cosmology, both a blessing and a constraint. He cannot die of natural causes. He has, in episodes, been struck by attacks that should have killed him and walked them off. But he is not invulnerable. He has been hurt. He has been knocked unconscious. He has, in some flashback episodes, been pushed to the edge of his own limits. He can heal from wounds that would kill a mortal. He recovers quickly. He has, by virtue of how long he has been alive, a familiarity with damage that the rest of the cast cannot match. Then there is the martial arts component. Skips has, the show implies, studied basically every fighting tradition that has ever existed on Earth. He moves with the economy of someone who has been in fights since before any of his current colleagues were born. He has techniques he never names. He has techniques he reserves for specific opponents. He can, when he wants to, hold his own against a cosmic threat for long enough to give the rest of the team time to come up with a plan. That is, in the show's repeated framing, his primary job at the park. He buys time. He is the figure that, when something cosmic shows up, walks toward it, while the rest of the cast walks away. The show is consistent on this. Whether the threat is Klorgbane or Garrett Bobby Ferguson or an alien invader, Skips is always the first one to move toward the fight. He does not always win on his own, but he always engages. That choice, the show implies, is part of why he was given the immortality in the first place. He is, by long demonstrated character, a person who can be trusted with a longer life. Then there is the magical and supernatural component of Skips's power, which the show is more cautious about, but does, in several episodes, allow him to use. He has, in some episodes, used what appears to be a form of healing magic. He has, in others, summoned or banished specific supernatural entities by name. He has access to ancient artifacts that other characters do not have access to. He has, in some flashbacks, performed feats that have no clear physical mechanism, that read as ritual rather than as combat. The implication, throughout, is that Skips has accumulated, over his long span, a small inventory of supernatural techniques that he keeps in reserve and only uses when the situation demands it. He does not show off. He does not use magic when fists will do. He is, in this sense, the model of restraint. The tier list placement of Skips, when you take all this together, is at the absolute top of mortal capability and the bottom of cosmic capability. He is not a god. He is not in the same tier as Pops, but he is the most capable normal warrior in the cast, and that, in a show that spends most of its time being about normal life, makes him structurally important. He is, in many ways, the load-bearing pillar of the early seasons. Without him, the entire household collapses. The show is aware of this, and it leans into it. Every time Skips is removed from the cast, by injury, by absence, by emotional crisis, the rest of the cast wobbles. They do not know how to handle cosmic threats on their own. They have outsourced their safety, without meaning to Skips, and when he is not there, they are out of their depth. Looking at the flashback episodes Skips appears in, the show gives you a chance to see what he looked like before he was Skips. He was Walks, an ordinary man, in love with Mona, with friends and a future. He has the same essential character then as he does now. He is patient. He is steady. He is committed to the people he loves. The thing the show wants you to take from his backstory is that the lifetimes of additional experience have not fundamentally changed him. He is the same person. He has more experience. He has more skill. He has more sorrow. But he is the same person. That is, the show implies, why he can be trusted with the immortality. A person who would have used that gift to become something they were not, would not have remained, in the end, a friend you could trust. Skips is, fundamentally, a friend. He is the kind of friend whose long life has not made him cold. That detail is doing a lot of work for the tier list. The show is implying that power, in its more cosmic forms, requires a person who can hold on to themselves through enormous timescales. The people at the cosmic top of the chart, Pops included, are the ones who can carry vast amounts of time and stakes without losing who they are. That capacity is not, in this show, a function of strength alone. It is a function of character. It is, again, a moral measure. Death deserves another look as well, because we have placed him on the tier list as a cosmic functionary and then moved on, and that is not quite enough. Death, in regular show, is a recurring character with his own continuity. He has a wife and a son. He has a band, in some episodes, that he tours with. He has hobbies. He has friendships, the strongest of which is with Skips. The personification of mortality, in this show, has a life that, from a certain angle, is not unlike the lives of the mortal cast. He has bills. He has responsibilities. He has a job he takes seriously, even though the job is the conveyance of souls. The show is making a very particular point with him, which is that even the personification of death is, fundamentally, a worker. He is a guy doing a job. He is not a transcendent existential force above the universe. He is part of the universe. The tier list implication of this is significant. The show is implying that the cosmology of regular show is not arranged with a small set of transcendent gods at the top and a vast crowd of mortals at the bottom. It is arranged with a continuous spectrum of beings, from the most ordinary to the most cosmic, all of them with families and hobbies and friendships and resentments and small concerns. Death is part of that spectrum. He is high on the chart, yes, but he is not separate from it. He is the friend at the top of the chart who, when you need him, will come to your party and arm wrestle for the life of your friend, because he and Skips go back. That, in this show, is how the universe is held together. By the personal relationships between the beings who run it. The cosmic top, when it makes a decision, often makes the decision because of a friendship, not because of a policy. The implications of that, when you sit with them, are significant. Regular show is, at its top, a friendship-driven cosmology. There is a category of object that we have not yet given enough attention to, and that is the show's collection of cursed and possessed items. The clearest single example is Percy, the Victorian doll that returns from Pops's childhood with what the show plays as a malevolent will of its own. The doll is, in its dormant state, harmless. When it is activated, it is murderous, and it has, in its single appearance, threatened to kill named characters in a way the show takes seriously. The doll is not a cosmic top-tier threat, but it is a hard challenge, comparable to the lower end of the rogues band. The reason to mention it on the tier list is that it tells you something about how the show treats supernatural objects. There are, in the universe of regular show, a non-trivial number of cursed objects, possessed items, and supernatural artifacts scattered around the world. Some of them are useful. Some of them are dangerous. Most of them, when handled badly, can cause trouble at a tier well above the mortal cast. The power, the supernatural artifact that lets Mordecai and Rigby do impossible things, is another. Various magical objects throughout the seasons are part of the same broad category. The show treats them with care. It does not let them become trivial. It uses them, again, to suggest that the universe is full of strangeness that the cast has not catalogued. The power, as a concept, deserves its own look. The power is, in the show's lore, a kind of unifying force that Mordecai and Rigby occasionally tap into. It is summoned via a particular gesture. It allows them to do things that should be impossible, things that would, in a different show, be cause for a complete revision of their tier list placement. They have, while in possession of the power, done feats that would put them well into the cosmic mid. The catch, the show is careful to establish, is that the power is conditional. They do not own it, they borrow it. They have to summon it through the particular gesture, and the gesture has to be done correctly, and the situation has to allow it. The power, in other words, is not a permanent buff. It is a tool. When it is in their hands, they are temporarily elevated. When it is gone, they are back to where they started. The tier list placement of Mordecai and Rigby is correspondingly variable. With the power, they can fight at a tier well above their usual placement. Without it, they are the same characters they have always been. This is a thing the show does repeatedly, with several different artifacts and several different characters. It hands out temporary upgrades. It takes them back. It uses the upgrade arc to show how the characters handle, briefly, being at a higher tier. The lesson is, usually, that they cannot quite handle it on their own, and that they need the help of the rest of the team to use the upgrade well. The tier list is, in this sense, a fluid document. People move on it. Artifacts move on it. The chart is constantly being redrawn. Spending more time with the power, you start to see how the show uses it as a thesis statement about strength itself. The gesture that summons it is, very pointedly, a small ritual that requires two people. It is a partnered movement. It cannot be done alone. The power, in the show's logic, is not a personal upgrade. It is a friendship upgrade. It is, in this universe, something only available to two friends who can synchronize. The metaphor is not subtle. The show is saying, with this artifact, that the strongest force in the universe is, very specifically, the bond between two people who have grown up together and learned to move in time with each other. When Mordecai and Rigby summon the power, they are not channeling an external force. They are channeling the relationship between them. The power is, in a real sense, them. The tier list implication is fascinating. The maximum capability of this duo is, by the show's own framing, the maximum capability of their friendship. As they grow, as the friendship deepens, as they mature, the power gets stronger. When they fight, when they fall out, when they almost lose each other, the power gets weaker. The show makes this connection explicit at several points. The friendship is the engine, the power is its output, and by the late seasons, when they have been through deep space together, when they have lost each other and found each other and grown up in parallel, the power is at its strongest. By the finale, the power they can summon together is enough to materially affect the cosmic battle. Not enough to defeat the twin on their own, but enough to contribute meaningfully, to take down lesser combatants, to hold their corner of the fight. The friendship, in other words, has become a cosmic-level force in its own right. That is the show's argument, compressed into a single visual motif. The mortal cast cannot climb the tier list by training. They cannot climb it by lifting weights. They can climb it by deepening the relationships that hold them to each other. That is, in this show, how mortals approach the cosmic. There is a related artifact category that deserves a look, which is the various supernatural items the show treats as cosmic level. There are the recorded holographic messages the show occasionally uses to deliver words from a deceased relative. There is the time machine that, in some episodes, the cast uses to travel between eras. There are wishing artifacts that, in others, grant requests at terrible cost. There are several magical food items, magical games, magical media that, when consumed or played, alter reality at small scales. The catalog is large. The show, in its later seasons, increases the rate at which these objects appear. The implication is that the universe of regular show is densely packed with strangeness, that small magical objects are not rare, that the cast is constantly tripping over things they should not be touching. From a tier list perspective, the catalog tells you that the universe of regular show is high magic, even if the day-to-day texture of it is low magic. Magic is everywhere, but it is mostly off-camera or sealed away or buried in old episodes. Every now and then, an object surfaces, and the cast has to deal with it. The aggregate effect, across 8 seasons, is to build a picture of a world that is much weirder than it first appears, where the mundane surface is held in place by a much more chaotic underlayer of supernatural strangeness. The cast, by the late seasons, has interacted with most categories of this strangeness. They have traveled in time, they have been to the afterlife, they have been to deep space, they have fought ghosts, gods, demons, aliens, robots, and the personifications of abstract concepts. The tier list, when you sit with the full catalog, is much wider than it first looked. There are entire categories of being we have not had time to enumerate. There are entities that show up for a single episode, do something extraordinary, and are never seen again. The world is dense. Among the entities that deserve their own paragraph on this list are the heroic cosmic figures the show invokes in the broader space arc context. By most accounts, the show keeps a small set of legendary names in reserve, beings of significant cosmic standing, whose names get invoked in connection with battles much larger than the ones the cast normally fights. These figures are treated, by the show, as high-tier cosmic figures, comparable to the upper rogues band on raw power, but morally aligned with the protagonists. Their role in the show is partly aspirational. The cast looks up to them. They invoke their names. They try to live up to them. They are, in many ways, versions of what Mordecai and Rigby could become if they kept growing on their current trajectory. The show uses them to give the protagonists something to aim at. On a strict tier list, these figures sit in the upper cosmic mid, well below Pops at the cosmic top, but well above the mortal cast. They are, in the way the show stages them, figures of inspiration. The detail that matters most for our purposes is that they are, like Pops, defined by their moral character as much as by their power. They are invoked when the show wants to gesture at heroism. They are, in this sense, the heroic mirror of the rogues band villains. The villains at that tier embody various flavors of cosmic evil. The heroes at that tier embody various flavors of cosmic good. The chart is balanced. The villains and the heroes occupy mirrored slots up and down the cosmic tiers. That symmetry is part of how the show structures its universe. There is no villain without a corresponding hero, no destructive force without a corresponding protective one. The system is, in this sense, fair. It does not load the deck. It gives the good guys a real chance, and it lets the moral dimension decide. There is also the unusual category of beings that the show calls personifications, which includes death, Father Time, and a sprawling group of others. The personification of the internet is a particularly fun one. There is an episode in which the actual concept of the internet manifests as a character, with whom the cast interacts. The personification is dangerous. He is, briefly, an antagonist. He has powers commensurate with his domain. He sits, on the tier list, in the upper rogues band, by virtue of the breadth of what he can affect. There is, in the same general category, the personifications of various holidays and abstractions that appear across the show's run. Christmas, Halloween. The cast meets, at various points, beings who claim to embody these holidays, and they are treated as cosmic-level entities. The tier list implication is that the universe of regular show contains a large number of these embodied abstractions, walking around, each in charge of their own piece of the conceptual fabric of reality. The implications are vertiginous. If the internet is an entity, what other technological abstractions might be? If Christmas is an entity, what other cultural abstractions might be? The show does not enumerate all of these. It hints at the category and lets you imagine. The case it is making, through this hinting, is that the universe is held up not just by physical entities, but by conceptual ones, and that the cosmic tier list extends into categories the human mind has trouble cataloging. The personifications, taken together, are a quiet reminder that the universe of this show is more populated than it lets on. The same is true of the various antagonists who occupy single episodes and never return. The show, especially in its first few seasons, ran on a kind of villain of the week structure, where each episode would introduce a new strange threat. Many of these threats, taken individually, would slot onto the tier list at the upper rogues band or even higher. There are episodes featuring beings that could, on paper, level cities. The Hammer, the lumbering arcade boss who turns up in one of the show's strangest early episodes, is one of those. A fight Mordecai and Rigby cannot beat through force alone, and only escape by exploiting a specific weakness in his programming. There are episodes featuring beings that can warp time, or rearrange matter, or rewrite memory. Each of these is, in the moment, a serious threat, and each of them is dispatched, somehow, by the end of the episode, often through a combination of luck, cleverness, and the friendship of the main cast. The tier list implication of this is that the cast, across 8 seasons, has accumulated a quiet record of having survived an enormous number of cosmic encounters. They do not have a wall of trophies. They do not brag. But their survival itself is a kind of accomplishment. They have, by the late seasons, become the kind of people who have been through too much to be surprised by what comes next. The veteran status the show eventually assigns them is earned. They have lived through hundreds of strange encounters, and they have, in each one, done what they had to do. The show is, on a meta level, arguing that this kind of survival, accumulated over years, is itself a form of strength. The mortal cast, by the time the finale arrives, are no longer the rookies the show began with. They have been hardened by their own history. They have, in their own quiet way, become formidable. The cast also accumulates, across the run, a number of allies whose presence in the finale is meaningful. There is Eileen, who is by then a credentialed scientist, with the kind of expertise that, in a cosmic emergency, becomes load-bearing. There is Margaret, who has, by the late seasons, become a journalist with her own circle of influence. There is CJ, with her weather-based powers. There is Thomas, whose intelligence background turns out to be useful in ways the rest of the cast never anticipated. There are the various beings the cast has befriended in deep space, including allied warriors and engineers and pilots, who show up to the final battle to help. The tier list of the final battle is, in this sense, a sum of relationships. Every friendship the cast has built across the run pays out, in some way, in the final action. The argument the show is making, with this structural choice, is that the cast cannot save the universe alone, that their power, in the end, is the network of people they have invested in. The strongest single character in the cast is Pops, but the strongest aggregate force in the finale is the network. The network includes Pops, but it includes everyone else too. The show, when you read it through this lens, is making a sustained argument about the social nature of power. Power, in regular show, is not personal. It is shared. It is held collectively by the people who care about each other. And the people who care about each other are, in the show's reckoning, exactly the people the universe has decided to back. Now that we have walked twice through the tier list, it is worth pausing to look at the space arc specifically, because that arc rearranges the chart in ways that the on-Earth seasons do not prepare you for. The space arc, in the late seasons of the show, takes the entire main cast off Earth and into deep space, where they are stranded for what is, in show, a long time, often described in years. The mechanism is that the park itself, by the end of one of the late seasons, is launched off the planet to escape a threat, and the park becomes, in effect, a spaceship. The cast, going along with the park, becomes a crew. They get pulled into ongoing intergalactic conflicts. They learn how to fly. They learn how to fight in space. They make friends with various alien species. They make enemies of others. The arc lasts for an extended set of episodes, and it is, on the whole, treated by the show as a real war story, with real losses, real consequences, and real character development. For the tier list, the space arc is a goldmine, because it shows you the cast at full flight, doing things they could not have done at the start of the show. By the end of it, Mordecai and Rigby are veterans of space combat. They can pilot a fighter craft. They can hold their own in a fight against beings that, on Earth, would have killed them. The accumulated training is significant. They are no longer the rookies of the early seasons. They are, by the standards of any normal action cartoon, mid-tier cosmic warriors in their own right. The villains of the space arc are interesting because they sit at a tier the on-Earth seasons did not really explore. There is a family of high-ranking warlords whose entire existence is structured around the destruction of opposing factions. They have armies. They have warships. They have generals. They have personal combat skills that, individually, put them in the upper rogues band on raw stats. They are, however, distinguished from the on-Earth villains by the fact that they are operating on a much larger canvas. They are not threatening a single park. They are threatening planets, systems, sectors of the galaxy. The mortal cast, when they get pulled into these conflicts, is, very specifically, punching above their weight in scale, even when they are not punching above their weight in raw stats. The implication the show is making is that scale is its own dimension of power. The villains the cast fights in space are not, individually, stronger than the rogues band villains of the on-Earth seasons, but they have access to more resources, more soldiers, more matter, more time. The tier list, in light of this, has to bend again. There is a dimension of resources that we have not been tracking, and the space arc forces us to track it. The cast acquires, during the space arc, a measure of this dimension as well. They acquire a ship, they acquire crew, they acquire allies. They acquire, by the end, a small army of friends. The tier list of the cast, when they come back to Earth, has shifted. They are not just stronger as individuals, they are richer in resources. They have, by virtue of their network, become a small institutional power in their own right. The reason this matters is the finale. The finale would not work if the cast had not gained, during the space arc, the resources they bring to bear. The final battle is staged as a multi-front operation. There is the cosmic Pops fight in deep space, which is the headline event. There is, around it, an entire battle being fought by the rest of the cast and their allies, against the Twins' army. The Twin, by the time the finale arrives, has assembled his own institutional force. He has, the show implies, gathered every cosmic ally he can find, plus an army of lesser fighters. The two armies engage. The cast is part of it. The veterans of the space arc are part of it. The friends the cast made in deep space are part of it. The mortal cast does its job, holding the line, while the cosmic top fights its own duel. The tier list, in this final battle, is fully populated. Every tier is doing something. The bottom of the chart is providing logistical support. The mid is providing frontline combat. The cosmic mid is providing tactical assistance. The cosmic top is fighting the duel that decides the fate of the universe. The structural completeness of the battle is, in itself, the show's argument that the chart matters. Every rung does its job. The universe survives because every rung does its job. If any rung had failed, the cast at the top would not have had the time and space to win their fight. The mortal cast does not personally defeat the twin, but the mortal cast keeps the twin's army from overwhelming Pops while he does his work. That is, in the show's reckoning, exactly as important. You can see this thematic argument compress, in the show's own language, into the moment when Pops, at the cosmic top, smiles his familiar smile in the middle of deep space and chooses to end the fight by ending himself. The decision is the apex of the show's argument about power. It is not a punch. It is not a blast. It is not a clever tactic. It is, very specifically, a decision. The cosmic top of the universe, in the moment of greatest stakes, exercises the option that is not available to his twin, which is the option of giving everything up. That option is, in the show's cosmology, the strongest move possible. The case being made is that the universe rewards this kind of choice. The twin, who cannot make this choice, who would never even consider it, is by definition the loser in this fight. He loses not because Pops outpunches him, but because Pops is willing to do something he cannot. The tier list, at the very top, is decided by a moral asymmetry that the rest of the chart, all the way down to Benson, has been quietly hinting at the whole time. The show, when you read it through, is fundamentally a moral document about what power should look like. It is not, despite its surface absurdity, a power scale show in the usual sense. It is a power scale show that uses the structure to make a moral argument. The strongest character is the kindest. The most powerful move is the most generous one. The cosmic top of the chart is occupied by the entity that, when the moment came, gave everything up. This is the thesis the show has been building toward, slowly, for 8 seasons. It is the reason the finale lands as hard as it does. It is the reason the chart, at the end, feels less like a hierarchy and more like a portrait of a community that, between them, has held the universe together. We should sit, for a while, with the twin himself, because his power level is, on this chart, identical to Pops, and his arc deserves its own careful attention. The twin arrives in the show late, with the cosmic backing of his side of the dichotomy. He is, by birth, the equal of Pops on every measurable axis. He has, the show implies, spent his life away from Earth. In the cosmic context Pops was raised to inherit, accumulating training and experience and grievance. He arrives not as a stranger, but as a sibling whose long absence has hardened him. He is, in the show's framing, what Pops could have become if he had been raised in cosmic luxury without a kind father. The choice the show is making, by framing him this way, is to argue that character is, in large part, formed by the conditions of upbringing. Pops became kind because his father was kind. The twin became cruel because his cosmic context was cruel. Neither of them, by birth, was destined for the role they ended up playing. They became these roles. The argument has real teeth when you let it sit. The cosmic top of the chart, in this show, is not occupied by people who were always going to be at the top. It is occupied by people whose upbringings made them, in the end, who they are. The strongest case for kindness, in this cosmology, is that kindness is, on a long enough timeline, decisive. The twin loses because his upbringing has narrowed his options. The fight is not, in this reading, between two equally matched cosmic beings. It is between two cosmic beings whose moral options are very different. Pops has the full menu. He can be kind. He can be cruel. He can be brave. He can be selfish. He has, throughout his life, chosen the kinder option, the braver option. The twin, in the end, cannot conceive of the option Pops takes. He has, by his upbringing, been edited down to a narrower set of moves. The fight, when you watch it this way, is over before it begins. Pops always wins because he has the wider menu. On a strict tier list, the twin is, by the show's own framing, exactly equal to Pops. They are cosmic equals on every measurable axis. But on the soft tier list, the moral one, the twin is well below Pops. He is, in the moral reading, structurally limited. He cannot reach the option that Pops reaches in the finale, because that option requires a kind of character that the twin has never had. The show, by drawing the chart this way, is making one of the most interesting moves in any modern cartoon. It is saying that two beings can be identical in capability, and yet one of them can be definitively stronger than the other. Because strength is, in the deepest sense, a function of character, not capability. The twin loses, in this reading, not because he is outclassed in any normal sense. He loses because he is, in moral terms, smaller than Pops. The fight, when it ends, is a confirmation of who they each are. The cosmic top of the chart is occupied not by the strongest combatant, but by the most morally generous one. That is, in the end, the chart the show wants you to walk away with. After the duel ends, the show has the rare patience to sit with the aftermath. And the aftermath is, for our purposes, a tier list of its own. The very long epilogue of regular show is, in some ways, the most ambitious piece of writing in the whole series. The cosmic battle is resolved. The universe is, for now, safe. Pops is gone. The twin is gone. The rest of the cast is alive. They have to figure out, between them, what to do next. The show, very deliberately, follows them. Mordecai goes off to find a life of his own. He becomes an artist, in some sense, although the specifics shift over time. He meets someone new. He builds a life that does not have Rigby in it as a daily presence. The two of them remain friends, but they grow into adults whose adulthood does not depend on each other. This is, in the show's framing, growth, not failure. The case being made is that the strongest friendships are the ones that survive growing apart. The relationship between Mordecai and Rigby, which has been the engine of the show, is allowed, in the epilogue, to relax into something more sustainable. They do not see each other every day. They do see each other. They are, when they reunite, recognizably each other. The show is implying, with this structural choice, that the friendship is the thing that has been being protected the entire time, and that, having survived the cosmic battle, it can now be lived in a more ordinary register. The tier list of the epilogue cast is, in a sense, the same as the tier list of the early seasons. Mordecai is Mordecai. Rigby is Rigby. They have grown, they have accumulated experience, but they are recognizably themselves. The show, in its choice to let them grow apart without breaking, is making one of its most quietly mature claims. Friendship, in this universe, is the thing that holds across change. Rigby, in the epilogue, is given a particular kind of attention. The show takes pains to show him in his adult life, with Eileen, with the family they build, with the work he does. He has, by the end, become, in the show's words, an adult. He is the same as he ever was, but he has grown into the adult version of himself. The case being made is that growing up, in this show, is not a betrayal of who you were. It is the natural completion of who you were. The strongest version of Rigby is the version who has, over many years, learned how to be a husband and a father, and a man who can be relied on. The same is true, in different keys, for the rest of the cast. Mordecai, by the end, is the strongest version of himself. He is settled. He has found someone. He has work he cares about. He is at peace. Skips is still skipping. He is still at the park. He is, in the way the show frames it, eternal, but eternal in a quiet way. He is allowed to be a fixture. Benson is still managing the park. Muscleman and Starla are still together. High Five Ghost is still doing what he does. The cast, in the epilogue, has not been changed by their cosmic experiences in a way that has alienated them from their own lives. They have come back to who they were. They have, in some sense, finally grown into the people they were always going to be. What the show is doing with this epilogue is, on one level, fan service. It is telling you, with great care, what happens to each of the characters you have spent 8 seasons with. On a deeper level, it is making a tier list argument. The argument is that the highest tier of strength, in the long run, is the ability to live a quiet life after a cosmic battle. The cast has earned this. They have done the work. They have, in their various ways, contributed to the saving of the universe. They have come home. They have lived. They have aged. They have, in the time skipped the show stages at the end, gone on to live entire human spans. The tier list, in the end, is not a list of who could win a fight. It is a list of who has, on the whole, lived a good life. By that measure, the cast comes out on top. They have, against all odds, lived. They have lived with each other. They have lived with grace. They have, in the show's reckoning, won. The cosmic battle is, in retrospect, a means to this end. The universe has been saved so that this kind of life can be lived in it. The tier list, when you look at it through this final lens, is not about violence. It is about who, after everything, gets to be at peace. By that measure, Pops, who gave everything up, is still at the top. Because the peace the others enjoy is, in some sense, the peace he bought for them. He is not present to enjoy it himself, but he is the reason it exists. That is the highest expression of power in the show's reckoning. To give up your own peace so that others can have theirs. That is the cosmic top of the chart, and it remains the cosmic top of the chart even in death, maybe especially in death. We should look, briefly, at how the show treats death itself in the aftermath, because there is a tier list question buried there. Pops is, in the strict sense, dead at the end of the fight. He has used his cosmic energy to destroy himself and his twin. He is, in the show's strict reckoning, gone. The cast mourns him. They do not pretend he is still there. They live with his absence. But the show, very carefully, suggests that there is something more to his end than ordinary death. The way he goes is described, in cosmic terms, as a transformation. He is not so much killed as transmuted. The energy he embodied has not so much ceased as redistributed. The implication is that Pops, after the fight, is, in some sense, still present, but as something different. Not as a person who can be talked to, not as a ghost who can be summoned, as, more diffusely, a quality in the universe. The kindness he embodied is, after his end, still in the world. It is dispersed. It is in the air. It is in the work the cast does to remember him. It is in the way they live their lives. The tier list, in this reading, has a footnote at the very top. Pops is not just at the top of the chart. He is, after his end, the chart. He has become, in some sense, the cosmic frame in which the rest of the cast continues to live. That is the show's last claim about him. He was always going to win, because he was always going to become the universe in the end. Standing back from the tier list as a whole, you can see how the show is building a particular kind of cosmology, one that is intentionally lopsided in favor of kindness. The chart, when fully drawn, places the kindest character at the top, surrounded by a network of friends who have his back. It places the cruelest character on the cosmic equal rung, but loses him, in the end, because of the asymmetry of moral character. It places the mid-tier, the immortals and the personifications and the cosmic functionaries, in the supporting roles they were always meant to play. It places the mortal cast at the bottom, but as the people the entire chart is, in some sense, in service to. The chart, when you sit with it, is not a leaderboard. It is a community. The strongest entries in the community are not the strongest because they can win fights, but because they can hold the rest of the community together. The cosmic top of the chart, at the end, dissolves into the community. The cosmic mid stays around to look after it. The mortal bottom keeps living, and the universe keeps turning. That, in the end, is the chart regular show wants you to walk away with. It is not a list. It is a portrait of a friend group, drawn very carefully, with the most generous member at the top, and the rest of them gathered around him. It is worth saying, before we close out, that the chart we have been drawing tonight is a soft document. It is not the official tier list of regular show. The show itself does not publish power levels. It does not tell you, in plain terms, who beats who. The chart is an interpretation, a reading of the show's choices, an argument about what the show is doing when it stages each fight and each reveal. Other readers, other viewers, would draw the chart differently. They would weight the dimensions differently. They would give the cosmic top to someone else. They would push some of the rogues band up and some of them down. The chart is, in this sense, a personal document, made by paying attention to the show. The argument the show is making, however, the moral asymmetry argument, the kindness as strength argument, is, in our reading, clear enough that the chart is largely determined by it. Pops is at the top because of what he does in the finale. The rest of the chart is structured to make that finale land. The tier list, when you read the show carefully, is not arbitrary. It is shaped, very deliberately, by the writers, who have spent 8 seasons building up to a specific moment, and who have, in that moment, made an argument about who is, in this universe, the strongest. The chart is a way of taking that argument seriously. There is one more thread we have to pull before we close out, because the chart we have drawn so far has a quiet implication that the show treats with great care, which is the question of what happens after Pops. The cosmic dichotomy that Pops embodies, as far as fans have pieced together, is part of a recurring pattern. It is implied to have happened before, in some form, and the act Pops performs in the finale is generally read as the deliberate ending of that pattern. Whether new pairs are still being born somewhere out there, after the show ends, is left, in the show, as fan speculation. If the pattern is indeed continuing, then somewhere out there, another pair like Pops and his twin will eventually exist. They will be raised, presumably, in different contexts. They will grow up. They will fight. The universe will be, in their fight, decided again. The implication, on a generous reading, is that regular show is one episode of a long cosmic story. Pops is one of many. The strongest character in this iteration of the cosmos is not necessarily the strongest in the next iteration. The chart is local to the period. The cosmic top of the chart, in any given era, is a function of which pair has been born, and which side of the dichotomy is currently in ascendance. The thing the show is implying, by gesturing at this pattern, is that the universe is, in some sense, perpetually rebuilding itself. Every era gets its own pair. Every era has the chance to come out on the side of kindness, or the side of cruelty. Every era, in the show's reckoning, deserves the chance to make this choice for itself. Pops's choice in his era was to come out on the side of kindness. The case being made, in the broadest sense, is that the universe is set up in such a way that the choice is real every time. There is no determinism here. The cosmic dichotomy is not, by birth, decided. It is decided, each cycle, by character. The universe is, in a deep sense, the kind of place where character matters. This is, when you sit with it, a remarkably hopeful cosmology. The show is making the case that the universe is fundamentally fair. It gives each pair the chance to make their choice. It does not stack the deck. It does not predetermine the outcome. The tier list, when read through this lens, is a snapshot of a single decision being made well. Pops, in his iteration, decided well. He chose kindness. He chose sacrifice. He chose to protect rather than to dominate. The universe rewarded that choice by, in some sense, keeping itself going. The next iteration, if one comes, gets its own pair and its own chance. The show, by ending on the note it does, is implying that this kind of choice will keep being made. Somewhere out there, in the future of the universe, another Pops figure may be being raised. Another Mr. Maellard may be keeping that figure safe. Another small park, on another planet, may be hiding another lollipop-headed child who will, when the moment comes, give everything up so that the universe can keep going. That is, in the deepest sense, the chart regular show wants you to walk away with. It is a chart that extends forward in time. It is a chart that includes the figures we have not yet met. It is a chart that suggests that the kind of strength the show celebrates is, in some sense, always being practiced, somewhere, by somebody. Often in a small public park run by a gumball machine. There is a more specific thing to say about Mr. Maellard before we go. Earl Maellard, the father of Pops, is a character the show treats with enormous care. He is, on the surface, a grumpy old man who runs the park. He is, in the lore, the cosmic father who has been keeping Pops safe his entire life. The case the show is making, with him, is that the cosmic top of the chart is, in some sense, parented. The strongest character in the universe was raised by somebody. The somebody who raised him is, by extension, an important figure on the chart, even if he himself does not do much fighting. Mr. Maellard, in the show's reckoning, is essentially Pops's protective infrastructure. He provides the park, the home, the money, the social cover. He has, the show implies, spent his entire life on this one project. The single most important task in his life has been keeping Pops alive long enough to fight his twin. He has done it well. He has, by the time the finale arrives, succeeded. The case the show is making, with this character, is that the cosmic top of the chart is, in some sense, a collaboration. Pops did not get to the top of the chart alone. He had his father. He had Skips. He had the cast around him. He had the cosmic family that worked, off camera, to keep him hidden. The chart, in this reading, is shared. The cosmic top is not occupied by a single being, but by a small network of beings who, together, made the cosmic top possible. Mr. Maellard is part of that network. Skips is part of that network. The cast, by the late seasons, is part of that network. The cosmic top is held up by everyone underneath it. The chart is not a tower. It is a structure. There is an episode arc, around the middle to late seasons, where the show stages the moment when Pops first learns who he really is. And the way the show stages it is doing a lot of work for the tier list. He is, in this arc, taken aside by his cosmic family and told the truth. He learns about the twin, He learns about the cycle. He learns about his role in it. The way Pops reacts to this information is, in the show's framing, the moment when his moral character becomes most legible. He does not, in the moment, become arrogant. He does not, in the moment, become afraid. He becomes, very quietly, more sober. He keeps doing what he does. He keeps eating sandwiches. He keeps tending the garden. He keeps being kind to the cast. He carries the knowledge of his role with him, and he does not let it change who he is. That choice, made over a sustained period of in-show time, is, in the show's reading, the crucial choice. Pops chooses, every day, to keep being the person he is. The cosmic top of the chart, in this reading, is occupied by someone who, knowing the cosmic significance of his role, chooses to live ordinarily until the moment when ordinariness is no longer available. That is, the show argues, the highest expression of moral strength. He does not let his cosmic role overshadow his daily life. He lets his daily life be the foundation of his cosmic role. The fight, when it comes, is therefore not a betrayal of who he has been. It is the completion of who he has been. He has, throughout the show, been kind to the cast, gentle with strangers, generous with his time, present with his friends. The decision he makes in the finale is, in some sense, the largest version of all of those smaller decisions he has been making for years. He gives himself up because he has, his whole life, been giving himself up. Not in dramatic ways, not in self-destructive ways, in quiet, ordinary ways. He has been giving up his attention, his time, his patience, his enthusiasm to the people around him. The cosmic version of the decision is, in this reading, just the largest scale instance of a pattern he has been practicing all his life. The case the show is making, with this framing, is that the cosmic top of the chart is, in some sense, available to anyone who has been practicing the relevant kind of generosity. Pops is not, by birth, more generous than everyone else. He has, by long practice, become more generous than everyone else. The cosmic top, when read this way, is the result of training. The training is moral, not physical. The training, in fact, looks like ordinary kindness, practiced every day, for many years. That argument has interesting implications for the rest of the cast. If the cosmic top of the chart is available to those who have been practicing the relevant kind of generosity, then the rest of the cast, by the late seasons, has been practicing the same kind of generosity, just at a smaller scale. They have been showing up for each other. They have been protecting each other. They have been forgiving each other. They have, in their own register, been doing the kind of thing Pops has been doing. The implication is that the cast is, in some sense, in training for the cosmic top. Even if they will never get there, they are practicing the same virtues. They are, in their own slower way, ascending the chart. The cosmic top is not, in this reading, reserved for cosmic beings. It is the destination of a kind of practice that anyone can begin. The chart, when read this way, becomes a path, not a ladder. Everyone is somewhere on the path. Everyone is moving along it, more or less, in the direction the show celebrates. That is, in the end, the most generous interpretation of the chart, and the one the show seems most committed to. It is also why, when the show ends, the cast can be allowed to live ordinary lives without any of the dramatic punishment that many cosmic finales hand out. They have, in the show's reckoning, earned their lives. They are not lesser for not having been at the cosmic top. They are, in some sense, in the same project as Pops, just at the scale where their lives are lived. The marriages, the children, the careers, the small rivalries are, in this reading, all part of the same fabric the cosmic battle was protecting. The cosmic battle was won so that the small rivalries could persist. The marriages were the point. The children were the point. The careers were the point. The cosmic battle was the cost. That ratio is, in the show's argument, exactly right. The point of saving the universe is, in this view, to allow ordinary life to continue. The strongest characters in the show are the ones who understand this. Pops understood it. Mr. Maellard understood it. Skips understands it. The mortal cast, by the end, has come to understand it. The chart, read through this lens, is not just a tier list. It is a map of who, at any given moment, understands what the point of the universe is. The cosmic top of the chart is occupied by those who understand best. The bottom is occupied by those who are, in their own way, still figuring it out. It is worth, before we close, walking through a few specific scenes from earlier in the show that, on a rewatch, reveal themselves as quiet tier list moments. The early seasons are full of these. They tend to slip past you on a first watch because the show is, in those seasons, calibrating you for a much smaller universe than it eventually delivers. But once you have seen the finale, once you have understood who Pops actually is, you can go back to certain scenes and see the show drawing the chart in advance. There is, for instance, a moment early in the show where Pops, in the middle of a stressful situation, demonstrates an unusual strength or composure that the writers, on first watch, lead you to read as a comic beat. A small flash of capability that you laugh off because, this early in the show, you are not expecting Pops to be anything more than the gentle weirdo of the household. On a rewatch, knowing what you know, those flashes look different. They look like the cosmic figure inside him, showing through the surface for a moment. The show has been telling you, all along, who he is. It just told you in such a subtle way that, on a first watch, the message did not register. That is, on one level, the writers being clever. On another level, it is the show's argument about the way cosmic identity actually works. The cosmic top of the chart does not announce itself with thunder. It announces itself by small flashes of unusual gentleness, of unusual composure, of unusual willingness to forgive. The cosmic figure, in this reading, has been visible all along. The viewer has only, by the end of the show, learned how to read the visible signs. The same is true, in different keys, of Mr. Maellard. There are moments, early in the show, where his protectiveness of Pops flashes through the surface of his grumpiness. He is, on most rewatches, more readable than he was on first watch. The case the show is making is that the cosmic family has been doing its work, in plain sight, throughout the show. The viewer was simply not equipped to see it. The chart, when you finish the show, gives you the equipment. You go back to the early seasons with new eyes, and you see Mr. Maellard differently. You see Skips differently. You see Pops differently. You see the show as a whole differently. The chart is not just a tier list of who beats who. It is a key for reading the show. It is the document the show wants you to leave with, so that you can return to it and see, in retrospect, all the moments where the cosmic structure was visible. The same is true, in yet another key, of the show's recurring side characters. There are characters who appear in early episodes, who do not seem important, who later turn out to have been quietly contributing to the cosmic structure. The waitress at the coffee shop, the owners of the various local businesses, the other park employees, the cast of regulars who populate the suburb. The show is, in its world building, very generous. It populates its world densely. Many of these background characters return, over the years, in small ways. They show up at weddings. They show up at parties. They show up in the final battle, holding their own corner of the line. The case the show is making, with this generosity, is that the world is held together not by the named characters alone, but by a wide network of background characters who, in their own small ways, contribute to the survival of the universe. The chart, when fully drawn, includes them. They are at the bottom of the chart in raw terms, but they are part of the structure. The chart is not just the named cast. It is, in some sense, the whole population of the world. The show, by including them in the finale, is making that argument explicit. The universe is saved, in the end, by everyone. The cosmic top of the chart is the brightest single point, but the whole chart is involved. There is a behind-the-scenes layer to all of this that is worth acknowledging briefly. Regular Show was created by J.G. Quintel and aired on Cartoon Network from September 6, 2010 through January 16, 2017, across 8 seasons. The show was led, throughout its run, by Quintel, who also provided several recurring voices. It was, by all accounts, a passion project. The team that made it was small. They were committed. They were given, over the years, the freedom to take the show in increasingly cosmic directions. The fact that the show ends the way it does is, in itself, a behind-the-scenes triumph. The team was allowed to take an early season's hangout cartoon and turn it, over time, into a cosmic story with a real finale. That is not always allowed in television production. The fact that it was allowed here is, in some sense, why the chart we have been drawing exists at all. The writers were given the room to build it. They built it carefully. They paid attention to detail. They planted seeds early that paid off late. The chart, when read as a document of writing craft, is impressive. The show, in this sense, is not just an argument about kindness. it is also a demonstration of the kind of craft that allows an argument about kindness to be made in the medium of a cartoon over the course of 8 seasons. The behind-the-scenes layer matters because, without it, none of the on-screen argument lands. The argument is, on every level, a collaboration. The writers work together, the animators work together, the voice actors work together. The cosmic top of the chart is, on a meta level, the show itself, considered as a collaborative artifact. The cosmic top is the work that, between them, the team made. That is not a small claim, but it is, on reflection, the correct one. The chart, on every level, is a community. It is also worth saying, because this is the kind of show that prompts comparisons, that regular show shares a kind of cosmic ambition with several of its contemporaries in the same era of Cartoon Network programming. There are other shows that started small and went cosmic. There are other shows that turned a hangout cartoon into a finale battle. Regular show is distinguished, among these, by the patience with which it builds. It is unusually patient. It does not rush the cosmic reveal. It does not give you all the lore in any one episode. It seeds the lore in small flashes across years and trusts you to assemble the chart yourself. That patience, in retrospect, is the show's signature. The chart it builds is, in many ways, an argument for slow storytelling. The cosmic reveal lands because it has been earned by years of small setup. The strongest character on the chart is the strongest character because the writers have been quietly making the case for him for 8 seasons. The chart is, in this sense, an argument for long-form storytelling itself. The case the show makes for kindness is, on a meta level, also a case for the kind of patience that long-form storytelling requires. The show is, in some sense, an argument for itself. That patience is something a viewer can imitate. The way to read the chart we have been drawing is, in some sense, to do what the show did. Take your time. Pay attention to small flashes. Notice when a character does something unusual. Notice when a character does something kind. Notice when a character does something the show seems to want you to remember. The chart will, if you watch this way, draw itself. The show is not asking you to memorize a list. It is asking you to pay attention. The reward for paying attention is that the cosmic structure becomes visible. The reward for not paying attention is that the show is still enjoyable, but the chart remains invisible. There is, in this sense, a 2-layer experience available with regular show. The surface layer is the hangout cartoon. The deeper layer is the cosmic argument. Both are valid. Both are intentional. The show is happy to be enjoyed either way, but the chart, for those who want it, is there for the assembling. And the assembly is, in itself, a kind of meditation. It takes time. It rewards patience. It builds, in the viewer, the same kind of slow attention that the show celebrates in its characters. The chart in this sense is also a practice. It is a way of training your attention. The act of drawing the chart is, in some small way, the act of becoming a little more like the cast you are watching. That is, in the end, the most generous thing the show offers. It does not just argue for a way of being. It invites you to practice it by watching closely. That brings us to the broader question of what regular show, taken as a whole, has done for the wider conversation about animated television. The show ended several years ago now, but its influence is, by any honest reckoning, still working its way through the medium. The animators it trained went on to other shows. The writers it taught went on to other writers' rooms. The voice actors it featured went on to other roles. The cosmic ambition it modeled, the case it made for a slow build to a cosmic finale, has been picked up by other shows. There are, in current animated programming, several shows that owe a debt to regular show in the way they handle their long-form structures. The chart we have been drawing tonight is, in some sense, also a chart of influence. The cosmic top of the chart belongs to the show itself, considered as a body of work. The chart of influence ripples out from there. Below the show on this meta-chart are the contemporaries that ran in parallel, that shared its sensibility, that built similar charts of their own. Below them are the successors that have, over the years, learned from the show's example. The chart, in this final sense, is generational. It belongs to a moment in animated television, and it is one of the strongest entries in that moment. The cosmic top of the chart is, in some sense, regular show itself, considered as a creative achievement. The rest of the medium, in the years since, has been catching up, coming back to the chart in its strict tier list form one last time, before we round things out properly, it is worth saying a word about the fans, because the chart we have been drawing is not the only chart that exists. The fan community for regular show has, over the years, built its own tier lists, its own rankings, its own arguments about who beats who. Many of these fan rankings are excellent. Many of them go deeper into specific fight mechanics than we have had time for tonight. Many of them resolve, in different ways, the same questions we have been wrestling with. The point of mentioning this is not to claim that our chart is the only valid one. The point is to note that the chart is a living document. It is built collaboratively by everyone who watches the show and pays attention. The fan community has, in some ways, kept the show's chart alive in the years since the show ended. They have rewatched the episodes. They have isolated specific scenes. They have argued about whether this character could beat that one. They have built spreadsheets, made videos, written essays. The chart, in this sense, is not just the show's chart. It is, in some sense, also the chart that the audience makes by watching. The audience is, in this reading, also part of the structure. They are continuing the show's argument by continuing to think about it. The chart is alive because the audience keeps it alive. That is, on a meta level, a kind of power as well. The audience's attention is a force that keeps the cosmic structure of the show, in some sense, in motion long after the credits have rolled. There is also a careful note to make about what we know and what we have inferred, because the show, by the nature of its writing, makes some things explicit and leaves others to interpretation. The cosmic dichotomy is, in our reading, the central structure of the show's tier list, and it is largely explicit in the finale arc. The wider universe of personifications is partly explicit and partly implied. The strict power levels of specific characters in specific fights are sometimes explicit, often not. We have, throughout tonight, tried to mark the difference between what the show shows and what we are reading into it. The chart we have drawn is, in part, a reading. Other readings would draw a different chart. The reading we have been making, the kindness as strength argument, is supported by the show's actions, by its finale, by its treatment of its cosmic top. But it is, in the end, a reading. It is the chart we have been making tonight. Other charts exist. Other arguments are possible. The point is that the show is rich enough to support multiple readings, and that the chart, in any reading, has interesting structure. The cosmic top is, in any reading, Pops, or some equivalent of Pops. The cosmic bottom is, in any reading, the mortal cast, or some equivalent of the mortal cast. The structure of the chart is broadly stable across readings. The specific weights change. One thing the various charts agree on, almost universally, is that Skips is in a tier of his own. He is the most thoroughly established mid-tier character in the cast, and his placement is, in most fan charts, broadly stable. He is at the top of mortal capability. He is below cosmic. He is, in his own way, the load-bearing pillar of the cast. The fact that the fan community has converged on this placement, despite arguing about almost everything else, is a tribute to the show's writing of him. He is, in many ways, the character the show has most clearly defined. The viewer, by the late seasons, has watched him fight enough times, in enough contexts, that his tier is no longer in question. He is where he is. The same is true in a different key, of Death. The same is true of Mr. Maellard. The same is true of Pops. The cosmic top of the chart, the cosmic mid, and the mortal upper mid are, in fan readings, broadly settled. The arguments tend to be about the lower mid, where the show is more variable, and about specific episodic threats whose tier is, in different episodes, somewhat inconsistent. Klorgbane, in particular, is a character whose tier shifts depending on which episode you are watching. He is, in his first appearance, a major threat. He is, in his second appearance, also a major threat, but in a slightly different register. The fan readings have to make choices about which version to weight. Our reading has weighted the most consistent version, the version that requires the entire team to defeat. Other readings might weight differently. If you sit with the chart long enough, you start to notice that there are characters who appear only briefly, but who, in their single appearance, are tier-defining. The Hammer is one. The personification of the internet is another. There are episodes where a single character appears, demonstrates a tier the rest of the cast cannot match, and is dismissed by the end of the episode through some narrative trick. These characters are, in a strict reading, real entries on the chart. They are, in another reading, set dressing. The show uses them to suggest the breadth of the universe. They are not, in most cases, returned to. The chart, when you include them, becomes much denser than it first appears. There are, by my rough count, more cosmic-level entities in regular show than in many series advertised as cosmic. The show simply does not draw attention to this. It hides its lore in episodes that look, on first watch, like comic asides. The chart, when fully filled in, is densely populated. The cosmic mid in particular is much wider than it first appears. There are many characters in that band, and their interactions, when you think about them, suggest a cosmic society that is more populated than the show has time to fully describe. It is also worth saying, because this is the kind of show that prompts the question, that the chart we have been drawing is not, in the strict sense, a closed system. There are corners of the universe. Regular show clearly implies, but does not explore. There are cosmic figures who are mentioned in passing but never met. There are entities the cast hears about but does not encounter. The chart, when fully drawn, has open frontiers. Whatever is at the very edge of the chart is, in the show's framing, unknown. The cosmic top of the chart, as we have been drawing it, is Pops, but there are gestures, in the show, at structures that are bigger than Pops. The cycle that produces Pops and his twin is, by definition, something that operates at a level above Pops. The cosmic infrastructure that supports the cycle is, by definition, something larger still. The chart, in this strict sense, is open at the top. We have placed Pops at the cosmic top, but the show has gestured at things above the chart, things that produce and frame the chart itself. The chart, in this sense, is local. It is the chart of this iteration of the cycle. The deeper structures are, by the show's own admission, beyond the chart. That openness at the top is, in many ways, the most generous thing the show does. It does not claim to know everything. It does not claim that Pops is, in the strict cosmological sense, the absolute top. It claims only that Pops is the top of this era, the top of this iteration, the top of the chart we can see. There is more above, somewhere, the show implies. There are forces that produce this dichotomy, and that will, in time, produce others. The show is, in this sense, humble about the limits of its own cosmology. It does not pretend to have built the whole universe. It has built a piece of it, the piece it can show us, and it has been clear about where that piece ends. The chart, when read with this humility in mind, is more interesting than it would be if it were claimed as a complete description. It is a chart of a small region of a larger universe, drawn with care, presented honestly, with the open frontiers marked as open. Stepping back, the chart we have been drawing tonight is a portrait. It is a portrait of a particular show's argument about what strength is. It is a portrait of a particular set of characters, each placed in their proper position, on a structure that is, in the end, also moral as well as physical. It is a portrait of the kind of community the show wants to celebrate. And it is, in the end, a portrait of a finale that earns its emotional weight by having been quietly set up for years. The cosmic top of the chart, when we close out, is the small lollipop-headed man who, in the very last fight, smiles his familiar smile and gives everything up. The rest of the chart is the community that, between them, made his choice possible. The chart, in this reading, is a love letter. It is a love letter to a kind of friendship, to a kind of patience, to a kind of generosity, to a kind of storytelling. It is the kind of chart that, when you look at it for long enough, makes you feel a little better about the world. That is, in the end, what regular show does. It draws a chart. It puts the kindest character at the top. It defends that placement for 8 seasons, and then it lets the cast go home and live ordinary lives, having earned them. Let us, before we close, do one more careful walk through the strongest single moments of the show, the moments that, in the way they are staged, function as tier list reveals. The first is the moment, somewhere in the middle seasons, when Skip's real name is revealed, when you find out he was once Walks, and when the show, in flashback, shows you the love he lost and the gift he was given. That moment is, for many viewers, the first time the show reveals that it has been hiding a deeper story behind the Hangout cartoon. It is the first time you understand that Skips is not just a Yeti who happens to know things. He is a man who has been carrying his grief for centuries. The tier list implication is enormous, because it tells you that the show is willing to take its most quietly capable character and give him a history that, on its own, would carry an entire other show. The implication, by extension, is that the rest of the cast might also have these depths, and that you should pay attention. That moment is, in retrospect, the show's first invitation to read the chart more seriously than the early seasons suggest. After it, you watch differently. You watch with the suspicion that the small characters are larger than they look. That suspicion is, in the show's framing, correct. Almost every character in the cast turns out to be larger than they look. The chart is, in some sense, a series of unfoldings. Each character, when you look closely, opens out into a fuller portrait. The show has been patient enough to draw all of those portraits in full, across the seasons. The second tier list moment is the moment when the cast first enters deep space. The transition is staged, in the show, as a kind of forced relocation. The park has been launched. The cast is, by virtue of being on the park, now in space. The transition is treated, in tone, both seriously and comically. The serious side is that the cast is, suddenly, very far from home, in an environment they were not prepared for, with stakes that have escalated beyond their experience. The comic side is that they are, very much, still themselves. They still argue, they still slack off, they still have their familiar dynamics. The implication, in the way the show holds these two registers simultaneously, is that the cast does not need to change in order to handle the cosmic scale. They simply need to keep being themselves, in the new environment. That, the show is implying, is its own kind of tier list claim. The cast is portable. Their friendship, their dynamics, their patience with each other can be moved to deep space and continue to work. They are not, in the cosmic environment, fundamentally weaker. They are still the same cast. The skills they have been developing on Earth, the patience, the willingness to show up, the ability to forgive each other, transfer. The cosmic environment is just an environment. The cast, when they enter it, are not diminished. They are simply, briefly, far from home. The tier list implication is that the kind of strength the show celebrates is, in fact, environment independent. It works on Earth. It works in space. It works in any cosmic context. That is, in itself, a strong claim. The show is implying that the values it celebrates are universal, not local. They apply wherever the cast happens to be. The third tier list moment is the moment when Pops, in deep space, late in the finale, makes his choice. The show takes its time with this. It lets the choice breathe. It does not rush. There are long moments of silence. There are long shots of Pops floating, in space, considering. There are long shots of the twin, on the other end of the duel, exhausted, defeated by his own narrowness. The choice, when Pops makes it, is staged with care. He does not announce it. He does not give a speech. He smiles his familiar smile, and he reaches out, and he completes the move. The show holds the moment as long as it needs to. The cosmic top of the chart, in this moment, is being literally crowned. The crown is, in this universe, a willingness to die for love. The show, by staging the moment this way, is making the most direct version of its argument about strength. The strongest move is the most generous one. The strongest character is the one who makes it. The cosmic top of the chart is, in this moment, the small lollipop man who has, his entire life, been training for this exact decision. By being kind to sandwiches and to friends and to the small details of his own daily life. The choice, when he makes it, is recognizably the same choice he has been making, in smaller forms, for years. It is just, in this case, the largest possible version of it. That sustained moment, the floating decision, is in many ways the chart in its single clearest form. It is the chart, expressed as a still image, the cosmic top, surrounded by space, alone, smiling, making a decision that costs him everything, surrounded at a distance by the rest of the cast holding their own pieces of the battle, so that the moment can happen. The chart is, in that still image, fully present. Pops at the top, alone in his decision. The cast below him, doing their parts, making the decision possible. The universe around them, the cosmos that produced the dichotomy, and that will, in some readings, produce others, framing the whole moment with its ancient pattern. The chart, when looked at this way, is not a list. It is a single sustained image. It is the image the show was always going to deliver. It is the image you carry away with you when the credits roll. After that image, the chart, in some sense, dissolves. The finale moves on. The cast returns home. The years pass. The chart, as a tier list of fighters, becomes less relevant, because the fighting is over. What remains is the chart of who is, at any given moment, helping who. That chart is more permanent. It is the chart the show wants you to think about in the years after you finish watching. Who, in your own life, is helping you? Who, in your own life, are you helping? Where are you on the chart of the people you know? The cosmic dimension of the show is, in this sense, an invitation to consider your own. The argument the show is making is universal enough to apply to anyone watching. You may not, in your own life, encounter cosmic dichotomies. You will, in your own life, encounter the same fundamental choice the cast encounters. You will, at some point, be asked to give something up so that someone you love can be safe. The choice you make in that moment is, in the show's reckoning, the choice that determines where you are on your own chart. That is the chart the show is, finally, asking you to draw, your own chart. The one with you on it, somewhere, between the people you have helped and the people who have helped you. The cosmic top of that chart is, by the show's logic, the most generous version of you. The version that gives the most. The version that, when the moment comes, makes the choice Pops makes. That is, in the end, an unusual gift to receive from a cartoon. Most cartoons do not give you that gift. Most cartoons are entertaining, sometimes moving, often clever, but they do not ask you to draw your own chart. Regular show, in its quiet way, does. It draws its own chart, very carefully, across 8 seasons. It invites you to follow along. It rewards your attention. It seeds in your imagination the question of where you sit on your own equivalent chart. It does this without lecturing. It does this without grand speeches. It does this by showing, repeatedly, a small lollipop man who chooses to be kind, every day, for years, until the day when his small daily choice scales up into a cosmic one. That, the show says, is what strength looks like. It looks like patience. It looks like generosity. It looks like willingness to give up what you have when the moment requires it. The chart, in this final reading, is yours. The show drew its version of the chart for the cast. Now it is asking you to draw yours. The cosmic top of your chart is whatever you decide it is. The show has given you the framework. The rest is up to you. That is, in some sense, the kindest thing the show does. It does not insist on anyone reading. It does not tell you what your chart should look like. It shows you its own, and it leaves you to make your own. The chart we have been drawing tonight is, in this sense, an example, not a template. You can use it as a starting point. You can disagree with it. You can build your own. The chart that matters, in the end, is the one you make for yourself, in your own life, when you have the time to think about it. The show, by ending the way it does, is giving you the time. It is closing the chapter on its own story. It is letting you sit, for a while, with what you have learned. That sitting, that time you take to think about the chart, is the show's last gift to you. It is the time it gives you to draw your own. So if there is a single takeaway from tonight, beyond the strict question of who beats who, it is that the chart is, in the end, a personal document. The show gives you the cosmic chart. You take it home. You compare it with the chart of your own life. You decide, by your own actions, where you sit on the chart of the people you know. The cosmic top of the chart is, in the show's framing, the kindest version of yourself. The bottom is the version of yourself that has not, yet, started practicing. The path between the two is, in the show's framing, available to anyone willing to walk it. The chart, in the end, is open. It is open to you. It is asking you to step onto it. It is asking you to decide where you want to be. That, in the show's reckoning, is the highest invitation it can extend. It is the invitation to practice strength, in your own life, in your own way, in the small daily increments that, over years, accumulate into something cosmic. If you are still listening at this point, you have, in some sense, been doing exactly what the show celebrates. You have been paying attention. You have been giving your time to something that requires patience. You have been, in the show's terms, exercising a small version of the strength the chart celebrates. That is not nothing. That is, in fact, the same kind of strength the cast practices. It is the willingness to give your time to something that matters to you. The chart, when you walk away from this video, is not just the chart of regular show. It is the chart of any time you have given yourself to something patiently. The cosmic top is the moment when that patience pays off. The path to the top is, in some sense, the path you are already on. The show, when read this way, is a quiet companion on that path. It is, like Pops, a small kind presence that, over years, gives you something to think about. That, in the end, is what the chart is. It is a way of thinking about strength that you can carry with you. It is the show's gift to you, given in the form of a tier list, but received, if you are paying attention, as something more like a way of looking at the world. So that is the chart. That is the tier list. That is the cosmic structure of regular show, drawn as carefully as we can manage in the time we have had tonight. The cosmic top, the lollipop-headed man, smiling at sandwiches, willing in the end to give everything up for love. The cosmic mid, the immortal yeti, the personification of death. The cosmic family, the various functionaries who keep the universe running. The mortal cast, the friends, the romantic partners, the colleagues, the small group of people who, between them, hold the center of the chart together. The rogues, the cosmic threats, the personifications of abstractions, the wider universe of strange beings that populate the world. The whole structure, drawn out, is, in the show's reckoning, a community. The community is what gets defended. The community is what does the defending. The community is, in the end, what the chart is. The chart is, in the end, the community itself, considered as a structure. Stepping all the way back, what regular show pulled off, over its 8 seasons, is the kind of thing that should not really be possible inside an 11-minute hangout cartoon. It opened on 2 friends complaining about chores. It closed on a small lollipop man holding the universe together with his own willingness to die for it. It made that move slowly, with patience, with humor, with the kind of small recurring details that, on a rewatch, light up like quiet signal flares. It built a chart of power that, when you finally see it whole, turns out to be a chart of friendship. It put the kindest character at the top, and made the case for him for years, and then, in the moment that mattered, let him win, not by force, but by the simple cosmic move of being a little kinder than the version of himself that wanted to win. That move, made by a lollipop man in a top hat, in deep space, smiling the way he always smiled, is the moment the entire chart has been pointing at since the very first scene. The chart is, in some sense, an arrow. It points at that smile. Everything else on the chart is there to make that smile land. The cast, the rogues, the immortals, the personifications, the cosmic family, the wider universe. All of them are there to give that small smile its full cosmic weight. When you finish the show, the smile is the thing you carry away with you. It is the thing you remember. It is the thing the chart in the end is. The park persists. The cast lives on. Skips keep skipping. The seasons keep changing. The universe keeps turning. Somewhere, on a generous reading of the show, another pair like Pops and his twin may yet be raised, and another cycle may begin. The chart will, in that case, be redrawn, with new names, in new bodies, in new contexts. But the structure of it, the moral asymmetry that decides it, will be the same. The kindness will, if the universe is fair, win again. The show, by ending the way it does, is making the case for that fairness. It is saying that the universe is the kind of place where kindness, on a long enough timeline, prevails. That is a generous claim. It is not, in our actual world, always borne out. But it is, in this show's world, the thesis. And the show makes that thesis with such care that, by the end, you are not arguing with it. You are sitting with it. You are letting it work on you. You are, in some quiet way, hoping it is true. That is, in the end, what regular show offers. It offers a chart. It offers a community. It offers a small lollipop man smiling at sandwiches. It offers a thesis about strength. It offers the hope that, in your own life, the same thesis might apply. The chart, when you walk away from it, is yours to draw. The show has given you the framework. The rest is up to you. You can sit with it. You can disagree with it. You can keep it on a back shelf in your mind for years and pull it out when you need it. It will, in some quiet way, keep working on you. That is the chart's longest range power in the end. It does not stop being relevant when the credits roll. It keeps drawing itself, in the years afterwards, in your own life. If you enjoyed the video, Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.